Welcome back under a glorious Florida sunshine, about a 70-degree day, and the battle just gets more and more tense with each lap. Top 3 cars in the overall running basically nose to tail. There they all are in your picture. The number 8 of Alan McNish, the 60 of A.J. Allmendinger, and then the red, white, and blue number 01, Graham Rahal, still at the controls of the Telmex Ganassi Racing Riley BMW.
He's inexorably losing just a tad. He's now down to 3.9 seconds, so he's lost nearly a second since that last stop.
We heard another radio transmission from the team to Alan McNish. Okay, Allmendinger's getting close now. Before they were confident McNish could handle him. Now they don't sound quite as confident that Allmendinger
is inching closer. If you could pull away, it's one of those communications as a driver that just frosts you. It'd be like telling Kobe at the last second, hey, we need you to score. We want you to try to score a basket here.
Right. The object is to put the ball in the hoop. We get it all the time in F1. We can get him.
You can get him.
And you better.
Yeah.
I do worry, though, that Shank might have played his car too soon. I mean, 2 hours and 40 minutes is a long time to go in this
pretty run out towards the end.
If you were fresh,
because the day's
really
getting hotter and hotter
to go. After 20-something hours.
Well, in a way, these guys are both endurance drivers. I mean, certainly we know about what Alan McNish has done with the Audis in 24-hour races and 12-hour races and so forth. But you got to consider A.J. Allmendinger to be a bit of an endurance driver, too, because those Sprint Cup events, you know, 4 hours in the summer sun at a place like Talladega, I mean, you've got to be racing fit for that. So I don't know if energy is going to be an issue for A.J. or Alan McNish. Folks from the Blue Oval loving it, no doubt. Ford running 1 and 2 right now. Into the West Horseshoe. Just under 2.5 hours to go. Oh, traffic ahead.
A lot.
Let's pick up the battle in GT. There's Andy Lally in the number 44. Magnus Racing Porsche 911. He has a lead of about 17 seconds right now over the 59 Brumos Porsche, similar car, in the hands of Lee Keen. These GT3 based 911 Cup cars are part of Porsche's worldwide Cup series. They run 20 series around the world specifically for this brand of car, the GT3 or the Carrera version. It is the most popular racing car of all time. They'll sell 2,400 of them this year alone for racers around the world. Now we are back to a nose to tail. Allmendinger right on the gearbox of McNish.
Getting a nice draft down there. McNish's bodywork worries me just a bit. I must say that took a severe belt when Lucas Lowe was driving it. It's all broken across the back of the wing now, in front of the rear wing.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Both in there. Whoa, that was close.
A little bit of a reverse of how McNish got around him. It didn't hold McNish up quite as well, and that could be experienced when you know you're not going to catch him. And granted, it was a prototype rather than a GT car, but you try to, if you know you're not going to get him under braking, you try to leave a little bit of a gap so that you still get a run off. There's only so much you can do, and if you charge on the entry and don't get it done, it really leaves you a sit and duck like it did for AJ on the exit of the corner.
Another GT car ahead, one of the Alex Job Porsches, the number 24 McKenna car. No problem there through 6.
One of the things that you get really good at, they're good endurance drivers when managing that. So McNish knows that AJ is going to try to set it up, so some guys will, even though they're inside the GT car, they'll hesitate a little more before they pick up the throttle just to kind of freeze the guy rather than getting through there and then having the guy slice back underneath you. So there's all kinds of little tricks like that. And the guys like a Pruitt and a McNish and Allmendinger for that, they've been doing that stuff for a long time so that you play the traffic. It's always tougher for the first guy to the traffic.
Squeezing around, trying to find the line down into turn 1. It's very slippery down there. Little lockup.
You see that lockup a lot. Oh,
Right.
look at this.
AJ going around the outside.
Still there.
Oh boy.
Still there. Clear.
Still there.
Oh boy, I should say.
Yeah.
That must translate differently into Scottish.
Stay low. Stay low.
Yeah, let's hope that Almendinger didn't damage it going into the grass there.
He's hanging it out. You
It's the
saw
sort
him
of
using
thing
all
that-
of the road.
And I mean, that's going the long way, but he's actually ahead at that point. You really can make a strong case that he should have been left room there on the exit.
Well, Alan McNish was not going to leave any room there, and you knew that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those
More than 2 hours
theory and
to
reality.
go. Oh man, look at
The reality is the guy on the inside always wins.
Exactly.
using the other guy as a brake.
You try and go around the outside, you get out into that loose gravel, so you lose a bit of grip as well, apart from the fact you're going the longer way around, and you definitely lose grip on the outside.
Expect a lot more of that with 2 hours and 25 minutes to go. It is go time. Bare knuckles here at Daytona. Now we can confirm, as Tommy Kendall mentioned earlier, they have run out of drivers, it appears, at the 77 Duran Racing Dallara Ford. Billy Johnson, who raced a BMW in the GT class, is now in the car. Let's get more on that situation down in the pit lane.
Yeah, I'm standing by with Kevin Dorn. And Kevin, we heard rumors that Billy Johnson, sort of like just before the playoffs, a trade agreement had been worked out, but it's a problem with the Frizzell brothers.
Well, Bert and Brian are a little bit dehydrated and had serious cramping in their legs and their back. And Billy was still nearby the track and one of the great Ford drivers, and we were able to get him to jump in there and give us a little bit of recuperation time for our regular guys.
Obviously, you've got those time requirements, too, for a driver. You can only run so many hours in a row, so you had to come up with something.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, absolutely. We really used Jim as much as he could stand. He put in a really great last stint, and twice as long as we expected. And then, you know, it's not fair. Well, it's not legal to have Paul run for 5 hours.
Right.
So, but it's not fair to have a guy in the car, you know, much longer than 3 hours. It's just near impossible. So this is a great thing for us. It'll get us out of a jam.
And while we were standing here, I told you what was going on for that overall battle for the lead, and you just smiled and said, well, that'd be good for us.
Yeah, the Combos car needs all the help it can get. So if those guys want to take each other out, I guess that's what'll happen.
All right, Kevin, thank you so very much. Kevin, of course, one of the great team owners in sports car racing and managers for so long time, and had a lot of success with a certain Gianpiero Moretti. Special weekend for him.
Thanks, Greg. In fact, Billy Johnson is a Ford driver, not BMW. And he also drove a Ford, in fact, in the Continental Tire, a sports car challenge race that took place yesterday at 200-miler. It'll air here on Speed next Saturday at noon Eastern. And I don't want to give it away. Billy Johnson did pretty well in his Ford. So check it out next Saturday at noon. He is in that man's car, sharing with Paul Tracy right now while the Frizzell brothers deal with cramps. We'll be back to Daytona. The Rolex 24 at Daytona is brought to you by Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. By BMW. We only make one thing, the ultimate driving machine. And by GoPro, the world's most versatile camera. Be a hero. GoPro. There is Scott Pruitt, armed and ready, sitting next to team manager Tim Keene. Boy, oh boy, Scott is focused.
He needs to be. He's 8 seconds down.
Here's a tweet from Michael Waltrip Racing. 75 minutes in the garage for a new clutch. Rob Kaufman gets into the 56 to bring the car back on track. And here's that battle for the overall lead between the two Daytona prototypes, Alan McNish and AJ Allmendinger.
Pruitt might get his wish, because I guarantee you AJ is hot. If I was a team manager, I might make him even hotter and tell him what the other guy said about him right about now.
After banging doors
Still there, mate.
But I could just tell by some of the way
On
the
the corner,
inputs. I mean, I
still
know AJ, but just you can tell by the way.
Oh, there it is.
Floyd touching
And again.
He's hot.
on the
He's hot.
banking.
Still there.
Boy, boy.
Yeah.
As they used to say, the first time is happenstance, the second time is coincidence, the third time it's enemy action. It is on here in Daytona. We've got a full course yellow. I'm not sure exactly what for. Debris, we are told, in the bus stop chicane.
Maybe they thought there was going to be debris from that.
Say, they decided, all right, let's let these guys cool down. Really
Nice to look at that.
my goodness.
Oh, the Frenchman. Debris.
Yeah, debris.
Now, it looked like it knocked the nose loose on
it
the
did.
8, at least momentarily. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's serious stuff when you start banging, going through NASCAR's 1 and 2.
Yeah. Robin Grayson.
That wasn't rubbing. That was more like a
Banging.
straight left hand. Let's have another look.
And look at McNish trying to pin him down. And then a little swerve, and then you get
Doink. Now watch Allmendinger's car. Pow.
and then McNish comes back at him in a big way.
Boy, oh boy. In slow motion now. Ooh. Boy, I think
That
McNish's
was a
car
pretty
got the
big
worst
belt.
of that one. Yeah.
Bits of bodywork flying off there.
And remember, these are two of the newest examples of the Riley. There are not a lot of spare bodywork parts for these cars floating around. Now in real time, off of 6.
AJ just gets a monster drive down low.
Yes, he did. And he dives low, the preferred line, stays right on the double yellow.
Here comes McNish. And AJ bounced up a little bit, which is sometimes happens, and then it's on.
Yeah, and you can see the gap open in the bodywork of the right side door.
Looks like they might have
car.
spring-mounted catches that give a little bit for that reason, because it looks like it's still properly seated. It's getting real in the Whole Foods parking lot here.
Boy, howdy. And we've still got 2 hours and 16 minutes to go.
That's the incredible thing, isn't it?
I'd love to have been a fly on the wall down in the Ganassi pit, sitting on Scott Pruitt's shoulder as he watched that exchange.
Well, it's funny because I know, like, when you're a driver, everything you're at the center of your universe, and so everything is in a personal affront. You take everything personally, and that, I get why AJ was hot. He had worked really hard to go the long way. He says this is a low percentage move, but I at least ought to be allowed room to try to pull it off. And Nish just used him up, and so I knew AJ was trying to get back to him.
45th lead change of the race thus far. Let's go down to the pit lane and Chris Neville.
Well, Bob, I was down at the Ganassi camp when all that activity was going on, and I was checking in with Joey Hand to see if they really had anything for these Ford teams. And he said, well, we're looking for 2 things. Number one, we're looking for these two to get into each other, and maybe that will allow us to get back up there and maybe go by them. Number two, we're looking for the track to get worse and the day to get hotter. This car always works best in those conditions. So they got at least one of the things they were looking for. As soon as that contact happened, the place down there erupted. They loved it. I came down to Mike Shank's camp and asked him what AJ said on the radio. He said all he did was say, hey Mike, did you see that on TV? Did you like it? And then you can see right now AJ Allmendinger in pit lane right now. He said the car is all right. A little bit of damage up here to the screens up on the grill, but they look fine. That's just 24 hours of wear and tear up there. Looking at the right side of the car, no real damage on the right side of the car. A couple rub marks that occur over the night. And left side of the car looks pretty good too. Watching the Star crew work in front. You can see AJ is down and away, fueled up. Starworks crew still working, and Alan McNish getting a little push out of pit lane. We're going to have to keep an eye on that, because if this thing comes down to pit stops late in the going, if Alan McNish is having a hard time, or Ryan Dial, who will finish this race, a hard time getting out of their pit box, that could be the difference between winning and losing this thing.
Wow. Meanwhile, when we're watching the Allmendinger and McNish stops,
these guys got in and out.
That's
quickest
right.
by a long way.
And they got Scott Pruitt in the car. And that's the most important thing, I think. So the gunslingers have all gone back to the corral, reloaded, and we're back at high noon on Main Street.
And the 8 car had a poor pit stop there. They'd left the outside tires in the wrong place, and hemmed in by a GT car in front. So they came out third, definitely on the tail end of this thing.
The monitor is showing a driver change. We're showing Lucas Luhr back in the number 8 car. Remember what I said about how if the Ganassi boys can get Scott Pruitt in front, he's a really tough guy to pass. The speed that the Fords have displayed, we saw him go the long way around on the banking, so there's only so much he can do. But it reminds me, watching the Ganassi guys work when they were doing the brake change, they're so calm, and it's like they're running a 24-hour test, ignoring everyone out, sticking to their plan. It reminds me of looking at Tom Brady's eyes, fourth quarter, driving for the final score. It's like he's playing catch with his kid. I mean, just cool as ice. And so this is when the cracks start to show. We've seen some tempers getting going. We've seen a little bit of a mistake, slow driver change on the 8. So it's like just fastening the lid on a crock pot and turning up the heat. The pressure starts building, and we're going to see who cracks.
Well, that was a very, very quick change, pit stop and tire driver change for the 01 car, no doubt about it.
Yeah, we talk about Ganassi and their preparation. They practice everything. That was a lightning fast stop. Chris Neville.
Yeah, Bob, these teams, whether it's driver changes or putting tires on these cars, they typically always beat the fuel going into the car. So the Ganassi guys, they were on top of their game. They're getting Scott in the car, getting new tires on it. But it was the fuel that I think was the difference, because this team has been pitting a couple laps after the Fords the past few rotations through. So it was a little bit less fuel going in, and I think that's where they made up their time.
Good analysis. Thank you, Chris. And so Scott Pruitt is right where he wants to be, with the ball in his hands, as it were. 2 hours and 12 minutes remaining, which is still, by 24-hour terms, an eternity. 1 lap to green. Time for a deep breath, maybe another trip to the refrigerator, and settle in. This is going to be a really interesting 2 hours. Daytona prototypes making their way to the front.
Boy.
Yellow flag procedures under Grand Am Rolex sports car racing rules call for all the Daytona prototypes to get together, followed by all of the GTs running amongst themselves, and it makes for a great show. Let's check a celebrity tweet. Kenny Wallace, our old friend here on Speed. This Daytona 24 is awesome. Go Dinger. You bet. I'll bet there's a lot of NASCAR fans pulling for AJ Allmendinger. Thanks for the tweet, Kenny.
I'm anxious to hear what Alan McNish has to say right about now.
Yeah, I am too.
We may need a translation. Chris Neville.
You guys want to know what he has to say? He's sitting right here taking a breather, sitting on one of the Continental tires. Alan, that was some awesome stuff between you and AJ. What happened with that contact?
Well, basically, I was alongside him and he moved up at 180 mile an hour. Personally, not something I would do, but hey, that's obviously his thoughts of how racing should be. It was a clean fight until that point, but I was a bit disappointed by that maneuver, to be honest. I've been long enough in this game to know that that can end up in a pretty big one.
Well, you guys have been racing this way for what pretty much is the last hour, and there's 2 more hours to go in this thing. Are you kind of surprised at how hard you're fighting this early before the checkers come out?
Not really. That's racing, isn't it? There's a big race to win, and we came here to do that. We didn't come here to finish second or anything else. And so, you know, it's important to be at the front if you can.
Well, we've pretty much been watching those 2 Fords out front the past couple hours, but it was the BMW, the Ganassi guys that leapfrogged all of you in pit lane. Any concern now that Scott Pruitt's out in front of the pack?
The last couple of times that's happened, then we've been able to get ahead of them. I think we've got more raw speed and also a better chassis balance actually in the infield. So it's a pretty good situation, I would say.
Also saw the team giving the car a push out of the pit box here, getting going. Any issue with the clutch there, or was that car in front just a little bit too close?
No, it was just that, and also, you know, there's a bit of tension now. It's getting close to the end, and everybody's got the adrenaline going.
It's all about making sure you've got a car that can win this battle, and it's got to be 100% with these 3 cars in it.
And that's not often you see Alan McNish sweating like that too, so it just shows how hot it is out there today, and it's going to get really hot.
Alan McNish, one of the few internationally recognized enduros that Alan McNish has not won. I bet it would mean a lot to him to pick up that Rolex here.
You saw all the guys down at the other end of the pits. The Ganassi guys have Rolexes for Pruitt's got them for both arms and both legs. McNish does not. DL does have one, but everybody else is shooting for their first overall.
As the Queen would say, Alan was not amused.
Well, it's funny. He said, I wouldn't run a guy out of room. But that's exactly what happened. It wasn't at 180.
Green.
So it's like I said, they all see it from the center of their universe.
That's
good stuff.
Green, 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 and Scott Pruitt pulls out and is immediately attacked by Almendinger for the lead.
Allmendinger's good.
Scott's not going to give up easily. His crew worked so hard to get him out in front, and he cannot let these Fords get away from him.
Well, that's not like Scott Pruitt.
I was going to say, that is what AJ wanted McNish to do, give him a little bit of room. Scott Pruitt, usually
difficult to pass.
Yeah.
He gave him too much room there. He was just a little bit slow on the uptake too. When the green came out, he just hesitated a fraction longer. AJ Allmendinger jumped there.
Okay, let me ask you two guys a question. Scott Pruitt's running for the series championship. AJ Allmendinger and Alan McNish are not, or in this case, Lucas Luhr. Does that affect his thinking?
Key point. I think Pruitt wants this win more than he wants another championship, to be honest.
Whoa! Pruitt had to dive at the last minute to get around that slower GT traffic.
I mean, I don't think Pruitt's driving here thinking, oh, well, I'll come second because I'm going to do the championship. He's going to want to win this race to equal Hurley Haywood's record at the very least.
Good point.
And, of course, what a thing to win it twice in a row. And so he's not going to just give up.
Well, we get to enjoy this for 2 hours, 7 minutes, and counting.
Well, Calvin or Lee called McNish a Scottish Terrier. I think AJ is an American Pit Bull.
And that's about all the canine metaphors we can come up with, folks. So good night. Thanks for coming. Drive home carefully. Back underway. GT traffic will be a factor all the way to the end as they go around one of the TRG Porsches. We'll take a break and return. Plenty more to come. 2 hours plus remaining in the 50th anniversary Rolex 24. It's been great, and it will be right down to the checkered flag. So stay with us. Don't forget, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is offering a limited time Speed Inside deal on tickets to their very first Grand Am race ever. Visit speed.com/deals by 3 p.m. today for your chance to pick up $24 Grand Am tickets for the historic debut at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Back live at Daytona, Marco Holzer sits in the stranded number 23. Notice the left rear wheel is askew, broken suspension. This is a car that had a share of the lead for Alex Job Racing. Let's listen to the onboard when it all kind of went belly up.
Grizzly noise.
Clearly a big suspension failure on the left rear. You can see, by the way, it's sitting.
From that nicely tuned engine in Gearbox
the wheels off the hub. You can see the hubs at the bottom of the center hole on the wheel. So I wonder if the wheel just came off.
Not going to move. We can see it on TV that it is not going to move.
Glad to be of service. It is kind of interesting how closely the teams watch the television feed for just that kind of information. Where their man is on the track, what the likely problem might be. Especially if radio transmissions become an issue. Meanwhile, battle for second. Scott Pruitt in the 01 from Ganassi Racing. Lucas Luhr in the number 8, the pole-sitting car for this 50th anniversary of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Scott Pruitt took the latest restart from the lead, was almost immediately passed by AJ Allmendinger, who is now about 2.5 seconds up the road.
AJ made a staggeringly good start. Jumped, made sure he jumped off first and pushed him out right going into turn 1 and 2 and took the lead almost straight away. And as you say, pulled out 2.5 seconds. So fantastic start of Allmendinger, not what you expect from Scott.
Actually, is that AJ just ahead of Scott? I think that 2.5 seconds is being eaten away at. Up to 190 miles an hour down the super stretch. And onto the brakes.
Full yellow.
Full yellow with 2 hours remaining in the race. They're going to go get the 23 and Marco Holzer.
And that 2.5 now goes to 0. Let's reset them again.
You betcha. 14th caution of the event.
Now, when the adrenaline valve is stuck wide open like this, you know, you forget how tired you are. But these yellows, when the adrenaline comes down, it sinks in.
Exactly.
How hot you are, how tired you are. Yeah.
There's Graham Rahal, who got out of the car in favor of Scott Pruitt. Joey Hand there at the back with the cap on. They're not going to wander far from the television monitors. Those folks have great seats for the action. 2 hours still to come at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. We'll be back with more after the break here on Speed.
Big thanks to Bob, Tommy and David as we are now less than 2 hours from the finish of the 50th anniversary running of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Lee Diffie, Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader back with you for this exciting run to the end. And as Bill Laurie, a famous cricket commentator, used to say, it's all happening here. Even though we're under caution, just wait until this thing gets going again. Here is a snapshot of how we stand at the moment with NASCAR Sprint Cup star and recent Penske Racing signing AJ Allmendinger at the top of the tree over Scott Pruitt. McNish is out of the Star Works car. Lucas Luhr is back in. Michael McDowell, Scott Dixon, that's your top 5 in the Daytona prototype class. How about in the hard-fought GT ranks? This has been incredible, and we now see a Ferrari break into the top 3 for the first time.
Yeah, we kept talking about it. Just give those guys a few free passes. They're going to be back on that lead lap. That Ferrari is fast, and it will be a factor here in these last couple hours.
Does the Ganassi car stand a chance? Let's hear the thoughts of one of last year's winners, Joey Hand.
Joey, during that last pit stop sequence, you guys leapfrog, went to the front, and we were speculating because you'd been getting a little bit better fuel, it looked like, or later, not as much fuel, but you were watching it and you said you think it was a driver change.
Well, I think the driver change leapfrogged the 8 car, but I think it's just a great pit stop by these Telmex Ganassi guys, you know. These guys have been doing it like they did last year. Brake changes, tire changes, everything just flawless, you know, and so far, we've done what we planned to do. And that is keep the car clean all night. And we said in our meeting yesterday, we just want to get to 2 hours to go and go racing. We got the master in there, Scott Pruitt. You know, hopefully he can get the job done. I mean, we're definitely fighting an uphill battle here. These guys are fast in a straight line, but our car's really good in the long run. You know, this Ganassi car is strong in the infield, strong on brakes. So we'll see how it all plays out. But it'd be great to get another win for all the BMW folks here. We got a lot of Crown Plaza folks here, a lot of people rooting for us, and you know, I'd sure like to have another watch on the other arm, that's for sure.
Well, and that was something that you talked about, was the fact that when this yellow came out, you guys weren't thrilled because you like how the car goes later in the stints.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's speculating a little bit, but the way it's been shaken down, it looks like the car likes to go in the long run better than the other cars, you know. So, you know, that's the strength of this car, and this program is keeping the tires under it and fast in the infield and all that. And we, as drivers, we've been working really hard and helping each other to get this car off the corners and not get a lot of wheel spin and save the tires. And so I think the yellow was not exactly what we wanted, but who knows how this is going to play out. We still got almost a whole sprint race left here, you know.
Absolutely, and he wants a second Rolex for the other arm, but for this team, it would be a remarkable 5th win in the last 7 Rolex 24s. That's pretty staggering.
And let's just wind back the clock just a little bit to this unbelievable scrap between Allmendinger and McNish.
Dinger gets it down the inside, and I was watching this and I thought, boy, the driver ego of Alan McNish, Dorsey, is not going to let him have that. You don't want the highlight reel for the next 10 years to show you're losing the lead in that manner.
Watch the 60 car down on the bottom on the yellow line. He gets down there, gets on the apron, pushes him up. Now McNish thinks that is aggression. He says, okay, you want to play? I'll give you one back then.
Yeah, that was hardcore stuff, and I don't think AJ really intended to drift up. Al interpreted that he's trying to rub him up a little bit, and he said, you want to play those games? I'm up for it. Let's go.
Justin Wilson just sent out a Twitter message saying it would be a lot easier if all 4 drivers were in the one car at the same time. That would save us from pacing up and down. Chris, what is he saying now?
Well, Justin Wilson's down here. You just got to see that replay there. And now Alan McNish got out of the 8 car and said AJ was playing a little bit too rough out there at those speeds. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it all starts in turn 1, you know, the roughness, but I think AJ can take that as a compliment coming from Alan. There's no one racing harder than Alan, so you know, it's tough racing. We're giving it everything we got, and we want to win this race.
With the contact there, AJ say anything about how the car is? Is anything damaged?
No, I think it's all good. You know, we're just focused on trying to win. You know, everyone here at Michael Shank Racing and Ford have done a fantastic job, and it's nice to be in this position, but there's still a long way to go.
Last year at Mid-Ohio in the IndyCar race, you sustained a compression fracture, your 5th vertebrae. This is the first time you've been back in a car. How's your back?
It's good, thanks. It's just getting better. Every stint I did, it just felt better and better as the muscles got used to holding my head up again. You know, that was the biggest thing. But I feel 100%, and I'm ready to go. I can't wait to get in the IndyCar next week.
Hey, Oz, you're looking a little tense over here, buddy. I'm watching your knees. They're bouncing up and down. You're holding your fingers together. You need a Tums?
This is the 50th Rolex 24, man. You know, it's worse to be outside than inside the car. I can tell you that. This is gonna be the longest hour and 50 minutes of our lives. I can tell you that.
And I'm looking at John Pugh back here. He's trying to get a little smile on his face, but he's hanging onto the chair like he's on a roller coaster ride.
Tensest few hours of my entire life, but it's fun watching those guys.
Now, you're used to sailboats all around the world. That's obviously got to be a little nerve-wracking out there at times. How's this compare?
This is a little bit more nerve-wracking right now. One of the most of my life, I think.
This team has come close to winning this race. A second back in 2006. They're wanting the win today. Brian?
An hour and 50 left to go, Chris. When Alan McNish got in the car, Peter Barron had planned to do a double or a triple for McNish, but when we saw it go full course caution the last time they came in, Lucas Luhr got in. I asked Peter, did you change because what you saw going on the racetrack, you just didn't want that catalyst involved anymore? He said, no, we changed our strategy. We know that Allmendinger's going to be in for a long time. Pruitt's going to be in for a long time. We're going to take the opportunity to put a fresh driver in on each of the stops, and that way we'll have a very fresh Ryan Dial up against two tired drivers for that final stint.
I think that's a really big point, especially for Dinger. We saw how used up Alan McNish was. When you're fighting these cars that hard, Dorsey, 10 tenths and more, I mean, you really take something out of you. Dinger's been going to be in there for nearly 3 hours, but they got another bullet in their gun. I mean, if they need to, they've got Wilson there. He set the fastest lap of the race there if Mike Shank needs him.
Lights are out on the Porsche pace car. We are ready to go back racing. There is only an hour and 49 minutes left in this golden anniversary race. People from all over the world have been tweeting, have been watching, have been enjoying this amazing scrap, and it's still far from over. AJ Allmendinger sees the green flag first, and look at that Ford fly. He gaps Pruitt immediately. What will the master do? Because he's keeping one eye on Lucas Luhr in car number 8.
Well, Scott Pruitt just got on the radio and says, guys, I feel like I'm about to go into a gunfight with a knife, and it's just a Swiss Army knife at that.
I mean, it has been quite dramatic, the speed differential down the banking, down the straightaways, but he's got a very fast race car lap time-wise, so he's just got to hang in there. I've noticed he's been running a slightly different line. He's really hugging the bottom now, Dorsey, around the banking, trying to make those guys go around the long way, but he's just got to really get off this infield as best he can, try and gap that 8 car just a little bit, and just try and hang on to AJ Allmendinger, who still has the lead of this race.
He can make up time in the infield. There's no question about it. So his lap time, he's going to be good. The bad news, and I say it all the time, is the checkered flag comes where? On the straightaway, and that's where he's weak.
There are still 4 cars on the lead lap. We cannot forget about the second Shank car, number 6, the Curb Agajanian entry with Michael McDowell behind the wheel. That's that Generation 2 Riley. It is still on the lead lap. Chris?
Well, Calvin, you were just talking about the time that AJ is going to spend behind the wheel on this final stint, but I did check the driver logs down here, and AJ got a little over 9 hours of rest. So obviously he didn't sleep that entire time, but he was able to go back to his coach, take a shower, lay down, get at least a couple hours of sleep, and then wake up and feel fresh. And Dorsey and Calvin, you guys know, if you can get a couple hours and a shower, you feel pretty revved up. Brian?
Radio communication down at Starworks to Lucas Luhr. Lucas, we're going to get you out at the first opportunity. The first opportunity to pit again, full course caution, or to run the stint out. They'll get him out. They said keep the car fresh for Ryan, so he's got something at the end.
You see again, Pruitt hugging down on that double yellow line, trying to force Lucas Luhr around the outside. It's working with the 8 car. I do believe, though, that 60 car, if the positions were swapped over, it'd be much tougher for the 01 to hang on to the lead in that scenario, Doris.
Yeah, I agree with you, too. There's no question who's got the top speed. The 8 car is hindered somewhat by that rear bodywork not being there. And what Scott's doing, making him go to the outside, he's just not strong enough to get that made yet. Look at this battle in GT.
Fight in GT, and that is the 63 of Olivier Beretta. This is unbelievable. This is for overall honors in GT on board, and that was a little get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Are coming through.
Game on there. I think it's Wolf Hensler now behind the wheel of the 67. He's in 4th spot right now on the same lap as Beretta. So we now have the top 5 cars in the GT ranks on the same lap of this race with just under 2 hours to go.
It has been many years since Giuseppe Risi brought his team to the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and here they are in the final hour and 3/4 with a shot of winning GT.
One time over 3 laps in the rears, this new wave, this new yellow flag is really saved that car, and it can still win.
Lee Keane, Andy Lally, we saw Olivier Beretta, Wolf Hensler. This has been a monstrous fight, a colossal battle in this class from the drop of the green flag.
We talked about it, how stellar this GT field was this year. The introduction of the R8, the introduction of the 458 Ferrari, and the field of drivers is unbelievable. A lot of ex-Formula 1 drivers. Global GT racing is represented here today at Daytona.
To further Calvin's point, the guy in the Ferrari 63, Olivier Beretta, we know him so well here in the US. He is
He's off. Little twitch there as he went into the bus stop, just lost the handle on the car a little bit, had to correct it, Dorsey, and had to use the grass.
You had to get out of the throttle, and that's all it takes. The momentum broken, and the Porsche is right by. That just shows you how hard they're pushing, Calvin. These guys are running 10-10s.
Nothing like timing in television, is there? I was about to sing his praises on how much he'd won, but that just shows you how intense this fight is when someone as accomplished as Olivier Beretta can make a mistake like that at such a late stage in this race.
Yeah, you could see it there. He just couldn't quite get it turned down, Dorsey, and had to correct. And in a flash, Wolf Hensler's by into that P3 position.
See that wiggle right there? He knows he can't make the corner, so he side cuts it, goes through the grass, gets out of the throttle. It leaves him vulnerable, but he didn't wreck the car. That's the main point.
At that point, if he tried to keep turning that steering input as he spun the cars, he got to release it, let it go, and take that ride.
Good thing is it didn't gouge up too much dirt, earth with it, and Olivier was able to escape with that one, and he's only 1 car length behind Wolf Hensler, one of the reigning Rolex 24 GT winners. There's Graham Rahal, last year's winner. Will Justin Wilson, Oz Negri, Pugh and Almendinger be this year's winners? We're back at the World Center of Racing. Real quick segment here. We're going to squeeze in another commercial break so we can show you more live racing towards the checkered flag. Less now, more later. And AJ Allmendinger, will he be rewarded for years and years of loyalty to the Underdog team, Mike Shank Racing? It could be a Cinderella story for him, outdoing the big guns like Ganassi. And in GT, Andy Lally, as we just come back from the break, Andy Lally took the lead of GT away from Lee Keane, and we know that Beretta got ahead of Hensler and then lost that position back. Off to a break, right back after this with more live racing. Stay with us. Back live here at Daytona. I hope you can stay with us right through to the very end of this 50th anniversary running of the Rolex 24, and one of the best Porsche drivers in the world, Mark Lieb, has just climbed aboard the famous 59 to take this car to the end. Chris, it'd be quite the story if he could win.
Yeah, they're going to have to do one more pit stop after this one. You can see there's some damage to the splitter on the front of the famous 59 here, so that's probably going to affect this car most likely in the kink and also the bus stop section of the racetrack. But that team looking very strong. This GT battle just nose to tail. I was just checking in with both Ganassi and Shank on what their plans are for these last couple pit stops. Both teams looking at 2 pit stops. And the way that we kind of look at it in strategy, you know, it's going to be 2 long segments and a short segment, and where do you take those? Or do you do 3 even segments to finish out this race? Both of those teams are saying if we don't see another caution caution. Caution's going to change everything. If we don't see another caution, they're going to do 2 long segments, and then that last dash to the finish probably be about 25 minutes. But that's what these teams are planning. Brian, do you know what the 8 car is planning?
Not exactly sure what the 8 car is planning right now, Chris. I haven't gotten down to talk to Peter Barron, but one of the things that I thought about when you said that is, if you leave that short segment to the end, it's great that you end up with a short pit stop, but if you have any problem on pit lane, you've got less time on track to make up for it.
I think what Chris was alluding to, what you could do is basically do 3 equal segments here, and then the fueling, if you do a full fuel load, it takes about 32 to 34 seconds. You can change tires much quicker than that. So if you timed your pit stop to the tire change at, say, 25 seconds, do shorter segments here and really just time those pit stops to the tire change, that would be a strategy. The problem with doing that means you're going to stop before you get in a potential window to do it on one more stop. Do you know what I mean? So this is really critical stuff. You're really rolling the dice to do that, and at this stage of the game, doesn't seem like any of the teams are willing to do that move.
Of course, a yellow in the middle of all that would screw it up. I think the 8 car has actually lost some of its top-end ability. Pruitt has been able to stay in front, in fact open up that gap enough when he comes out of the bus stop that it takes the 8 all that length to turn 1 to get caught back up again.
Yeah, at this point Lucas has not got enough strong enough run off the bus stop to be quite close enough as you come around NASCAR 3 and 4.
Everybody's watching, even the Indianapolis Motor Speedway folks. You fans watching the closing laps of this, it's pure insanity. Looks to be an epic finish. Can't wait for Super Weekend. That is, of course, in July when the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series joins the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at the Brickyard 400 weekend. And for our very first time there in a 3-hour endurance race, really looking forward to that. The big story here is that after 22.5 hours of racing, the top 3 are separated by just 2 seconds. The top 4 are on the lead lap and blanketed by just 16 seconds. This is beautiful stuff, Brian.
And the cards are starting to get played in this card game that's lasted, geez, almost 22.5 hours. I talked to Peter Barron. He said they need only 2 more stops. They'll do 2 long stints. No games to be played. 2 long stops for the Star Works number 8. Chris?
Well, we just saw the 59 come to pit lane, and last year's GT champion Lee King getting out of the car. And Lee, one thing I noticed on it is he had some splitter damage up front. How is that affecting the handling of the car?
Well, it creates a little bit of a push, especially in the kink and in the bus stop. But actually, it wasn't too bad. I don't know if we can work on getting a piece on there for the final here, because it's going to be an all-out sprint.
I don't think you're going to get any pieces added to that car. I think you've got what you've got.
Well, it's really exciting, you know, this year. Just incredible. I got to give it to the Brumos guys. Did an amazing job. Any other year, we'd have a 5-lap lead right now, but now for this year, just so competitive right here in the front. You're trying to win it, we'll see.
Did that damage happen earlier when you and Andy Lally got together?
No, I don't think so. I think it just kind of, I don't know exactly when it happened, but debris, I mean, it lasted almost 24 hours, so pretty good.
Well, and hey, I just want to show you this board over here. The team, what they do is they try and keep track of everything that's going on with the car. They've got drivers going in, they've got fuel, tires, if they've added any oil, anything else going on. And the only thing that has really happened to this car, broken rearview mirror.
Well, we've seen those front spoilers on the Porsches made out of plastic. We talked about it all last night, as a matter of fact, that they fit up in the carbon. They're kind of hard to get up in there. It's kind of a weak link. We can see that. I don't think there's a Porsche out there that's not in that same configuration. You know, and we saw in the replay that definitely it wasn't Lee Keen getting up in the back of Andy Lally that broke it. It was broken before it got there, and I'm sure it's from the bus stop area.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be a bit of a strange scenario with that Porsche splitter having to be plastic. It's really not going to be robust enough for one of these 24-hour events. So all of the teams are dealing with it. It seems like all of the teams have got some kind of issue there. What it's going to do is affect that handling. It's affect the turn-in ability of the race car, but I think they've adjusted quite well at this stage. Just got to deal with it. As Chris said, they're not going to be doing any lengthy stops at this stage of the game.
Transition there from Andy Lally to the 59 of Mark Lieb. A Le Mans winner, a Sebring winner, a 4-time Le Mans Series winner. This guy is a master. Monday to Friday, he's an engineer at the Porsche factory in Weissach in Germany. This guy has put his mind and his hands on some very exciting projects, including the Porsche GT3, the 911 hybrid car. He's not actively involved on the new prototype, the LMP car that Porsche are developing, but he said it is quite the project. It is incredible. The guy had already won major motorsport events around the world. He stepped away to finish his education and then came back to racing once he knew he had his future secured. He's a very interesting guy, very smart and very fast in a Porsche.
You're watching the very best of the best. There's no doubt about it. When you talk about guys like Mark Lieb, Andy Lally, and so forth in GT, all and DP included. I mean, right now, I've never seen so many cars fighting this hard, battling this tough, with an hour and a half left to go in a 24-hour race. It is quite remarkable.
Tell you what, don't count out this 02 car. They've had some drama during the course of this race. They're now only one lap back from the leaders, so one more yellow. They're back in the lead lap, and JPM is hanging around somewhere. I'd love to see Montoya in the fight at the end of this.
If you're wondering why the 02's not up there with the 01 sister Telmex Ganassi BMW Riley, they had a shift lever problem. It broke during the nighttime hours, put them many laps down, and ever since they've been playing catch up, and as Cal just mentioned, they're not done yet. For those of you just turning on, let's bring you up to speed with just a little sample of what's gone down in the race when the green flag flew on this 50th anniversary occasion. Yesterday afternoon, the pole sitters got away to a good start, and after just 14 laps, Max Angelelli drove the SunTrust Corvette into its garage. The two Ganassi guys and cars went out at Memo Rojas and Jamie McMurray, no harm done.
No, that was pretty crazy. Then we see the 41 go for a spin and take out a couple of really good cars, including the Paul Miller Racing Porsche there, number 48, as well as the 50.
Hurley Haywood has a gentle spin. We later learned that he was helped.
Yeah, a little help right there. This was tragic. As you see, the Gainsco car with a hold radiator. They had to go behind the wall.
And Gurney got stuck in the tires for a bit. He also had another problem down in the engine department later on.
Massive battle in GT between Rene Rast and Mark Lieb during the nighttime hours, going blow for blow for the first place in class.
And look at this. The 01 car dicing it up with PT Paul Tracy in the 77 machine. He's a few laps down, but just giving it everything, not letting him by.
Then we started to see Ford dominance on the straightaway. No doubt about it right there. You see the Ford power taking the lead.
Pruitt wasn't happy with that. The 8 car got back on the lead lap. Then McNish and Dinger, what a battle they had. McNish washes him out. Dinger didn't like it. Look what happened just a little bit later. Here he comes up on the bank. He gets down really low, Dorsey.
And he comes off that bottom, ricochets up. He's going to hit right here, moves up, and they touch. And when they do, Allen thinks it's aggressive. He says, you want to play? I got something.
We've seen that before in Grand Am. That had shades of Homestead circa 2004.
Max
Pappas and Jan Magnussen. Fortunately, there was a happier ending.
Yeah, actually, because the caution came out, it was like the bell ringing between rounds. It saved them both.
When we spoke to McNish after that, there was some adrenaline flowing then, I tell you.
Continental Tire race summary, and there's some pretty interesting stats there. 46 lead changes. The attrition rate has been pretty decent as well. 18 cars no longer in this race. And AJ Allmendinger and Andy Lally, who of course won the NASCAR Sprint Cup Rookie of the Year title last year. He leads GT for his new 44 Magnus Racing team.
One of the questions we have is with AJ Allmendinger. Of course, he's the fastest car in the 60, Mike Shank Racing Ford. However, he's going to do about a 2-hour, 45-minute stint after driving all through the 24 hours. Can he stay good enough to put up the battle at the end here?
An important factor was, Chris looked at the driver log, said he had a nice long rest, 9 hours before he got back in the car. But looking at the lap times, Pruitt just ran a 42.0 against AJ Allmendinger's 142.9. So the lead has just been cut to 2 seconds. So Pruitt has some speed in that car, lap time wise. But as we've seen throughout the course of this event, up on the banking where it really counts to, you said it right, the start finish line is at the end of one of those long straightaways. Doesn't seem to have quite enough.
You can see there the gap between Pruitt and Lucas Luhr. So that has grown to almost 2 seconds. So it's equidistant, first to second, second to third.
Pruitt's car has actually picked up speed. We just saw that with the lap time you were talking about. Lucas Luhr's car, the 8 that you're looking at, is losing speed. For whatever reason, it's not up to the straightaway speeds it was running earlier, which made it pretty easy to go by Pruitt. Now he's not able to run with it.
They've got to monitor this carefully because they could stop any time now, and after that point do it on one more stop. All of these leaders are looking at 2 stops to get to the checkered flag here today. So if they start to drop too much lap time, they may determine to get Lucas in, get some fresh rubber on that, and I think they're going to finish off with Ryan Dial, who's really just been sensational in this 8 machine all week long.
And Calvin, just as you were talking about that, a lot of action down here at the Star Works camp. Tires getting set up on the wall. Ryan Dial getting his helmet on. They know they're within the window now. When they have the opportunity, the 8 will be to pit road.
I think that's a smart call, Calvin, because, I mean, the handwriting's on the wall. Lucas is losing time. They know they're going to get in their window here. DL's been spectacular the entire time in that car. I think that's their best bullet.
The other thing is, if you play the strategy and get a little bit wrong, if you should go down a lap and you get the caution, you know, you're going to get it back. So if you get hurt by pitting and then there's a caution, you know what, you're going to get a reset anyway. So it gives these guys a little bit more of a safety net.
Leader in GT in.
Andy Lally comes to a stop. There is going to be a driver change here as well. So Andy has done his job. Jamie, you're standing by?
I am. Richard Leeds now climbing into the number 44 car. It's interesting, this team's doing a driver change. Richard will stay in the car to the checkered flag now. They have 2 sets of Continental tires left in their 30-set allotment for this race. This is one of them. They're planning on the last stop, also taking another fresh set of tires. TRG number 67 was just on pit road. They did fuel only. So Richard's going to go out there with a fresher set of tires, a full tank of fuel, and a fresh driver as well. Fuel still going in, car's off his jack, and he's out.
That's a very important fact that these teams have had to really manage their tire allotment for this race week. The tire allotment starts at the very first practice session. 32 sets for Daytona prototypes, 30 for the GT cars, and that's why the guys really have to suck it up in the middle of the night and do double and triple stints to get you back in that allotment window.
And the Ferrari leads. Olivia Beretta to the front.
How about that for Giuseppe Risi? There is Scottish driver now, Florida-based Ryan Dial with team principal Peter Barron. You can just see Peter there on the left-hand side. What a miraculous job Peter has done in pulling together just some of the most talented people in motorsport to run this Underdog operation. It's underfunded, under-resourced, but they do the best with what they've got. They've got a new car for this year, and boy, hasn't it been a great day for them so far.
It really has. What a week. This car only got finished last weekend. It's the last of the Riley chassis that was built for this year's race. They got it very late, got the call to get the car very late, and boy, did the team put a great car underneath them. They worked hard on the old chassis in the test, got good mechanical understanding of what the Riley needed, worked with this new bodywork, and Steve Chalice and the engineering crew just did a tremendous job. I love this relationship between Ryan Dial and Peter Barron. They're great friends. There's great chemistry. They have a lot of fun, and you know what? Ryan Dial's going to get behind the wheel right now and give it 1,000,000% to try and get this first victory for his team boss there.
Doesn't much look like a car that's 3 days old, though, does it?
No.
It's had a rough 3 days.
And you mentioned a really key point there, Cal, and that is relationship, because it's the same story at the other Ford camp. AJ Almendinger has shown amazing loyalty to Mike Shank Racing, and that's one of the attributes that attracted Roger Penske and Tim Cindric to sign the young driver. Not only does he get it done on the track, he gets it done off the track, speaks well, drives well, looks well, and shows loyalty. And if so long as AJ Almendinger does a great job, he just might be a Penske driver for the rest of his life. Today, though, he might be a Rolex 24 at Daytona winner. You can see the 67 Sargent and Lundy TRG Porsche. This is the defending GT winner here at the Rolex 24. Porsche factory driver Wolf Hensler on board. He just had to come to a complete stop after missing the bus stop, fighting here with Mark Lieb.
Watch the car wiggle under braking here. It's going to get a little twitch. Right there, he's got a little adjustment. It puts him off wide, and he has to abort the corner.
Well, what happens is when you get slid underneath there, you can't see the apex. Chris?
Well, as you can see, AJ Almendinger in pit lane. He's been here for about 20 seconds. Scott Pruitt was also going to come in pit lane, but when they saw AJ came in, Tim Keen said, Scott, stay out one more lap. I think they wanted to see what Mike Shank's group was going to do on this pit stop. 30 seconds right now, just waiting for fuel. Tires already done. 34.
Clear, go, go, go.
Just finishing up down here at Star Works. Continental tires are on. They're going to take a moment to clean the grill. Fuel flowing. Ryan Dial now behind the wheel of the number 8. He'll take it to the checkered flag. They've got one more stop they're going to need to do.
Boys, we got a race.
I think the key is on the 01. Will they short fill it a little bit? Do you know what I mean? You can then put the fuel back in on that last stop. Do you know what I mean? Yep. So you got to make another stop anyway. Just try and leapfrog these guys. Let's see when the 01 pits. Do they try and release that car a little bit, gain some track position on these two guys?
Timmy was making sure too they didn't try something tricky and get a short stop in there, where he would have had to adjust. The same thing for Scott to get him the lap.
Remember Tim Keen's words before, I would rather be in front than trying to fight from behind. We'll see what we can do. They're the masters of strategy. They did it last year. Remember, Joey Hand was down 52 seconds with just 2.5 hours to go, and they came back to win the big one. We'll see what this car here on screen can do against those two mighty Fords for Mike Shank and Peter Barron's Star Works.
Come over.
Chris, talk us through
Well, that stop by the Shank guys was 34 seconds. Pitting now for these teams, this is going to give them about a 50-minute run, which should give them anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes of wiggle room out when that final stop will be. We can see this in front of this car. This is the best thing about these cars at 24-hour races. All the nicks, all the damage, but they're still running so hard. Tires done, 4 Continental tires, waiting on this fuel 20 seconds. Are they going to fill this thing up? Are they going to wait another 15 seconds? No, it's going to be a timed run. It's going to be, they timed in 26 seconds.
Oh, he lost valuable seconds there. He can't find a gear.
Driveline, something's gone wrong.
Oh, no.
This is disastrous for Scott Pruitt and Ganassi and their title defense at the Rolex 24.
That could be clutch. It could be a gear input. He's not driving, that's for sure. There he goes.
Oh, they did exactly what we talked about. Short fill in the car a little bit to leapfrog the guys by about 8 seconds, but it's all gone wrong. Pruitt couldn't get out of the pit box.
And here comes A.J. Almendinger, sweeping through the tri-oval, down into turn 1, and it all went away from the 0-1.
Wow. Could not get it in gear. And I don't know that
he's just coming around now. Just poking around slowly.
Wonder if he was in the right gear, Chris. What are you hearing?
It's sounding like he only has third gear.
Yeah.
Tried to launch the car in first gear, didn't have first, didn't have second. He has third right now. Tim Keene talking to Scott on the radio right now. I just heard Tim say it sounds like he only has third gear.
Second here.
But they're trying to figure out what they have left in that gearbox.
Drive station, if you do the second, the speed limit won't work in third there. Penalty.
Talking about coming back on pit
penalty.
lane.
Yeah, they're saying that this pit lane speed limiter will not work unless it's in first gear. So if he only had third, he probably bumped over his 45 miles an hour pit lane speed limiter, and the electronics won't be kicking in and keeping Scott under that controlled speed.
What's worse than that, if he has to come in for a stop and go with only third gear, he's going to have a very, very hard time getting going again.
Well, bigger picture is.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that was looking to be a tight run off a pit lane there, and okay.
That's the call that you were talking about making, you know, come in short fuel, get that 10 seconds, get track position on everybody, but it backfired.
And here comes the race leading car of A.J. Almendinger for Mike Shank Racing. And with that 0-1 Telmex BMW Riley wounded, this could be a mega day for Mike Shank, because Felipe Nasser in Shank's second car is running fourth on the lead lap and could be on the podium. What's gone on here?
A.J. Almendinger here, he's trying to pass it.
This is the Waltrip, the AF Waltrip Ferrari.
Got up on the curb there.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah, when you get offline there, when you get to the right side of the racing line there, Dorsey, it's a little bit greasy, and also there's some little quirkiness in the way the pavement is laid as you get back up onto the banking.
Now here comes Scott for his penalty.
Chris?
Well, listening to Tim Keene on the radio, one of the other problems is because he's only got third, fourth, and fifth gear, he can't tell how quickly he's going. His pit speed limiter isn't engaged in the car, so Tim Keene having to talk Scott through right now what his speed is as he's going down pit lane, so he doesn't have another infraction. So all the way down pit lane, Tim Keene's telling him exactly how fast he was going. This team only has third, fourth, and fifth gear, and they've got one more pit stop to do.
And with that, young Brazilian Felipe Nasser, the reigning British F3 champ and a superstar of the future, moves Mike Shanks forward into third place overall for the first time. There it is. This is one of the older Riley chassis cars with the Ford power plant, and this young man moves into a podium position with an hour and 11 minutes to go.
Wow, what a brilliant day for this young team. Michael McDowell at the helm as well, but those three young open-wheel drivers done a stunning job here, Dorsey, in a very difficult race. And Felipe Nasser just took everyone by storm at the test here in December, was the fastest guy on the racetrack in one of the older Rileys, and really made everyone stand up and take notice.
Got a really good head on his shoulders, too. For a young man, he's got his head, you know, everything going in the right direction.
He's the Sunoco Driver Challenge winner for 2011. That's why he got the 2012 drive here at the Rolex 24. And Joey, I don't think you're going to get that second Rolex today. And we've got just over an hour to go here at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. It's our 50th anniversary. Have you been watching? If not, where have you been?
You teed it up yesterday. You said Bubba Stewart yet to show his best. He went out and did it.
Yeah. I mean, it's addictive. I mean, I come from a motorcycle background, so I just love it anyway.
Broken leg in mini bikes.
Let's get back to it because it's Almendinger, Dial. There's a 6.5 second gap between Almendinger and this man here, Ryan Dial, our pole sitter. Felipe Nasser is third. So 722 laps completed. We're on target to break that race record at 7:55. How are things in GT? Well, this car is leading. Let's go to one of its drivers.
Andy Lally standing in pit lane at the moment. It's not every day that we see you in pit lane in the closing stages of a race. How sweet would this victory be for this team?
The 50th running of the Rolex would be the sweetest victory of any race I've ever won before. I am standing here. I've not stood here at the end of a competitive 24. I'm always in the car with the wheel in my hand coming to the checker here. But Richard Leeds has done such a good job. John Potter and his whole Magnus crew. Renee Rast, the kid's a bullet. This is amazing. It's been an amazing event so far. To win it would be sweet. I got to give a special shout out to the Children's Tumor Foundation, eBay Motors, and Quicken Loans who've been on board here with us. Unfortunately, the Ford didn't have a great day. Ryan Eversley and those guys were trying real hard, but this would be amazing to win. And I'm going to be biting my nails for the last hour and 10 minutes.
Team still working hard in the closing stages, guys.
And there's major developments down at the 01 pit at the Ganassi camp. If you've just joined us, Scott Pruitt had a gearbox issue with first and second gear on the last stop, and this is what's going on.
As you say, expect the unexpected in one of these races. He's about to leave the pit box, Dorsey, and take the lead, but now they've got to do a major repair, Chris.
Yeah, you can see they're going to change the gear stack in the back of the car. They don't have first or second gear. This team did a gear stack change last year right at the beginning of the race because they were hitting the rev limiter. It took about 3 to 5 minutes. This it might take a little bit longer because we got to remember that first and second gear, we don't know what those gears look like and how much debris is in that gear case there. And listening to Tim Keene on the radio as they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do, essentially what they were looking at is if they made the change, where are they going to end up? And their biggest concern is, well, are we going to end up on the podium or fifth? And if we have a big problem, are we going to finish further than fifth? So looking into this this case here, you can see there's quite a bit of debris in there, and they're trying to pull that out. They've got a magnet on the end of that probe, and they're trying to fish out any debris in there. And it looks like this is going to take a little bit longer. Typically, you just slip that gear stack out, push the other one in, but obviously there must be something else broken deeper in there. So this change is taking a lot longer than they anticipated.
Do you remember last year when they were not happy with their gearing? There was wind affecting it down the front straight. They made a gear cluster change in 4 minutes 21 seconds under a yellow, but Dorse, different scenario today.
Yeah, they're in damage control right now. I mean, to pull that gear cluster out of there, they're going to take a look and see if they broke a gear. They're going to have to clean up all of the stuff that was broke. But, you know, they got to make sure. Wow, look at that.
Third on the racetrack, and I believe our GT lead is now going to come in there. There he is.
And he got some understeer right through there and caught it quite nicely.
The difference is last year when they did that gear cluster change, no damage. They're just putting in a different ratio. Now they try to pull the pieces out. They've gone on top, maybe take the nut off the top of the box, maybe try and flush it out. I don't know, Dorsey.
Yeah, I mean, when I looked at the gear stack that came out, I looked at first gear, and it didn't look like it was missing any teeth or anything, which means it could have broken something further up. Could have broken the reverse gear, which is a separate gear that's in there. Accidentally, it got into that gear. But in any event, those pieces would have gone through the transmission, and Scott wouldn't be able to finish the race. We're trying to keep that from happening.
There is a lot of pride on the line here when you run the same car as other teams. So the Porsche fight is intense. Let's go to one of the team owners who knows what it's like to be the best Porsche team owner.
He does, and with running 5 cars this year, Kevin Buckler, you had a pretty good shot at a victory. You're still in line for a podium, but this 67 machine is not out of it. How does the team keep their head down and go to the finish?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're putting our head totally down. There's 3 cars having a great battle. You know, what an incredible situation. 24 hours at Daytona, at 23 hours, we're 10 seconds apart. It's really cool. Competition this year was so stiff. We knew this was going to be tough. I'm proud of all the guys. They worked so hard since November to get here. So we're just going to, Wolf's going to drive the snot out of it and see what we can do.
Wolf Hensler into the checkers, guys.
3 factory drivers in the 3 Porsches going for the top 3 positions. You couldn't ask for it any better.
Just over an hour. You know.
Sorry, Doss, go ahead.
I was going to say the same thing you probably just over an hour left. to have these cars this close with 3 factory drivers, it's amazing.
You know, Kevin Buckler's biting his tongue because his longtime driver, Andy Lally, switched from TRG after many years, and now he's in the leading car, the Magnus Racing Porsche. So there might be some salt in the wound there.
This is the 3rd place car. Lieb and Leitz are in the top 2 positions. The Ferrari with Olivier Beretta is 4th, and John Edwards for the Stevenson Camaro 5th in GT, as the Ganassi boys keep working on that gear cluster change at the rear of the 01. Simply because it is the 50th anniversary running of the Rolex 24 at Daytona, here live on speed. We knew it was going to be special, and this thing has not disappointed. With less than 1 hour to run until we see the checkered flag fall, it's far from over. But if you're a Ford fan, if you're an AJ Allmendinger fan, and a Mike Shank Racing fan, things certainly are looking good.
Oh, he's pushed out wide.
He went the wrong side.
Pushed out wide around the 45 car there. Seth Nyman behind the wheel. Didn't see the leader going around the outside. That caught him unawares. Good recovery by AJ.
But that's all it takes. That's all it takes. One little mistake, one little error, and it could be over with. But he saved that one. 6.5-second lead over second will be diminished now.
Well, guess what? It got diminished on the lap time that Ryan Dial set. He took 0.7 of a second out of him. That was before that hiccup. Watch this. Flying Lizard Porsche on the inside.
Yes, he Seth's in trouble, and AJ expected Seth to be down towards the apex there. Seth was struggling to get the car turned in and just took AJ out for a ride. Those fast twitch muscles that AJ Allmendinger had were in full motion there, that's for sure.
They were both in trouble for a minute.
The team will be watching just how close Ryan Dial in second place is. The big picture story here in the 50th anniversary running, Scott Pruitt of Ganassi fame and championship winning fame had an opportunity to draw level with the all-time best here at Daytona, Hurley Haywood, with his 5th overall victory. That is not going to happen here today, or it's highly unlikely with just 55 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think they played their final ace there with the short fill, and it just went wrong, Chris. What are they saying down there?
Well, Scott Pruitt back out on the racetrack, currently running in 6th. And Tim, typically we see this team able to change gear cluster in about 4 minutes. Last year, you guys did it in 4:21. This one took a little over 7 minutes. What was the problem?
The problem is the internals were broken on this one, and so when you break something, you have to get the thing back to neutral, or the other cluster won't go back in. So fortunately, that was the case here, and we knew where we stood on the track. We would have stayed out and it went yellow, Montoya wouldn't have got the waiver. So feel bad for everybody at Telmex, Target, Chip Ganassi, BMW, Steve Dinan. I mean, a lot of work to have it come down to that. So nobody's fault, just happened.
Did the team know anything about that gearbox? Were drivers saying that things were starting to soften up there? Or did a failure happen all at once?
No, not at all. I mean, there's just sometimes you drop it down on concrete, you go to grab a gear, and you have to clutch it and engage right or whatever. It's just break. It's a race car.
I know you guys were doing a short fill on that stop. It was about 26 seconds. Anything there, you know, just driver being a little bit more over anxious to drop the clutch and go?
No, I mean, we were trying to push the thing every stop just to try and be easy on things. So I gotta go. Scott's trying to talk to me.
Well, right now, Scott's running 6th place, 2 laps behind Darren Law, and about, what is he, about 9 laps, 9 laps in front of Paul Tracy.
So what he was talking about there, guys, when Scott dropped the clutch, it broke first gear. Parts of the gear got into the barrel, which was what shifts it on a sequential shifter or a paddle shifter. The barrel got stuck, so it couldn't go into the next gear. And without it being in neutral, they couldn't get the gear cluster out. They had to get all the bits out of there before they could put the new one in. That's what cost the time.
And the graphics tell the story there. The 01 had been as high as first. It was one of the favourites coming into this race as the defending winners, with Joey Hand, Graham Rahal, Memo Rojas and Scott Pruitt. The 01 has become a famous car number in Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series racing. Today it has not gone their way. The story is about the underdog teams, Mike Shank Racing and Peter Barron's Starworks entry. With AJ Allmendinger and Ryan Dial, the Ford-powered Riley prototypes run 1st and 2nd ahead of a young Brazilian, an open-wheel star who's been competing in Europe, Felipe Nasser, who is off to either GP2 or World Series by Renault this year. Exciting times. I wonder one day if we'll see him in Formula One.
What a shocker this is. There was so much talk about the new GM Corvette body Daytona prototype. Would they just blow the field away here? And what have Ford done? They've come up. Right now they're running 1, 2, 3. They could sweep the podium here today on the 50th anniversary of this race.
59 is in. Chris?
Mark Lee behind the wheel, staying behind the wheel. Just checked in with the team, and even though we've got about 50 minutes to go in this race, they're saying that they can't make it. They're going to have to come back in for a splash. So they ran that thing as dry as they could, going to fill it up as much as they can now. They're going to need a caution if they don't come back to pit lane, but they're going to do 4 fresh Continental tires. Also checked about the splitter on the front here that we can see. There's quite a bit of damage right in the center. Hurley Haywood says they're losing about half a second because of that.
Wow, and that's a surprise, Chris, because when I looked at their numbers, I thought they could do it. It looked like they had to do about 2 46-minute runs after that last stop, so not getting the mileage that we thought, and we understand via radio communication they might just do their short stint at the beginning here. They get him back in and take the run to the checkered flag. So this is a big factor in the win here today in GT, that is for sure.
So you've had the visiting IndyCar and NASCAR Sprint Cup drivers blending with America's and Europeans' best sports car drivers here today, and it has been quite the story unfolding over the last 23 hours and almost 10 minutes. Mary Beth and Mike Shank, they put everything into this team. Are they going to be rewarded? The Rolex 24 at Daytona is brought to you by Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. And by Mazda. We believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. You can see just the glorious weather that we have been enjoying over the past 23 hours here, and look at what these guys are fighting for. There's the hardware waiting for them. Will Mike Shank's boys' names be engraved amongst sports car racing legends? We will find out. The live-on new generation Ford Riley has performed beautifully. This little unit, I mentioned about Mike Shank and Mary Beth Shank putting everything into this team. It's like a family. AJ's the goofy kid. Justin Wilson is his lanky teammate. They go all the way back to Champ Car days. Oz Negri was involved with AJ Almendinger back in the Skip Barber Dodge days. Mike Pugh is one of Oz's closest friends and go-kart training buddies. They hang out at Dorsey at your brother's place down in Homestead Miami Speedway and drive and train and go-karts all the time, and they have a lot of fun together. At the press conference at the Raw before the 24, Mike Shank said, yeah, despite having AJ, we feel we've got a strong team this year, and AJ responded with saying, and Mike is the second best team owner I've signed with this year. So they have a lot of fun. There's a lot of humor in this camp, and that's the fluid that lubricates this team towards the front.
When AJ landed over at Daytona Speedway after testing, he texted over to Mike and said, AJ is in the house. And Mike texted back there and he goes, I heard an ugly rumor you might be.
He said, I'm afraid of that.
That's what I'm afraid of.
There's a real energy when this boy jumps behind the wheel of this one of these cars. He always seems to lead here at Daytona year in and year out. They've been so disappointed over the years. We've talked about it before. It's never over till it's over. They got one more stop to make. The car's been really, really quick, and AJ's just slicing through this traffic.
There's the gap. That's what 8 seconds looks like. Plus, back to the second place, Ryan Dial. It's that tight after more than 23 hours. Only 8 seconds separates the top two. Felipe Nasser is 20-plus seconds back in third place in the second Mike Shank Ford.
This car and this driver combination was magic here. It was a pole-sitting car. Throughout the night, the fastest car on the track. It could run down anybody. Then that damage, we saw Lucas Luhr go through the bus stop and tore up that back. And from that point on, it's been just a little bit off, and it seems to be, it's just not up to snuff anymore.
It's lost its edge, and I think Ryan Dial was really factoring in on the longer runs. I think we're better than the Shank car, but right now that's not coming into play as we see the other Shank car. What a great performance by these young men. Felipe Nasser, one of the studs. He's going to be a big name in the world of motorsports over the next few decades because the talent that he has shown us here at Daytona over the last couple of months has been incredible.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see him get a test ride in Formula One. He's headed in that direction.
Absolutely. And Remember the Sunoco Driver Challenge Award winner. This is a competition in Europe that has really gained a lot of momentum over the past 3 years, and it's run across 4 different championships. And current Formula One driver Jean-Eric Verne almost won it 2 years ago. He was almost in a Daytona prototype this time last year.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's a lot of talent over there in the British Formula 3 series. Now we're looking at Juan Pablo Montoya. These guys are allowed. Dan Dorsey still in the game if we get that caution.
I just said that a while ago. We get one caution. This 02 Ganassi car, Juan Pablo Montoya, will be on the lead lap. He'll be the 4th car in the Daytona prototypes. And if that should happen, look out. You know, once again, just like Scott Pruitt's car, this car won't have the top end speed of the Fords, but that's another bullet in the gun that Timmy Keene would have.
At the moment, it's Ford 1, 2, 3. This is the best of the BMWs with JPM behind the wheel. We then pick up the first Corvette, and it's Action Express Racing's number 5 with Darren Lord, David Donahue behind the wheel. Christian Fittipaldi did a nice job earlier on as well. But these guys have worked tirelessly throughout the off-season. It's a similar theme to a lot of these teams that got new prototypes. They were delivered late, and the guys really had to burn the midnight oil just to get ready for the test days for this event.
Yeah, and there's a lot of concerns with these new bodyworks. If you did run off the road, how serviceable were they? It seemed like the splitter changes and everything else was taking much longer than the previous generation of cars. So the teams have really gone to work. For the 01 team, they had the unfortunate incident at the test where Pruitt was involved in some traffic, crashed that car heavily, and they said if we have any issues with servicing the car, replacing those and stuff, we learned a lot that day. Didn't come into play today, but it may come into play later in the season, Dorsey.
I talked to Bill Riley when he built this new car. I said, exactly what did you focus on as far as this car versus the Gen 2 car? He goes, one of the major things we look at is ease of repair in the field. The nose and the splitter and the wing, if we back into a wall. We did a lot of things to make that a lot better. And then he said, when Ganassi crashed his car, he saw how we did it. He goes, he made his even better yet.
Here is the combos for Dallara for Doran Racing. Paul Tracy, who is 7th overall, but he's some 8 laps down. Final stop at Starworks.
Yeah, Ryan DL in. They're giving them a little bit of water. They're going to do tires and fuel. They had to come in just a little bit early because they did say on the radio that they did short fill that last stop. So we're about 18 seconds right now. This is going to be a 40-minute run. So that was 23 seconds on the clock. So that was also a short fill.
Yeah, he may not be completely empty there. So anyway, they should be good to go. I'm sure they got their numbers right. They will not see pit lane again unless there's a problem.
So just over 40 minutes left in this 50th anniversary running of the Rolex 24, and it is not over. Yes, Almendinger's in control, but it's not over. Final pit stop out of the way for the GT class leading car as we welcome you back to Speeds Live and continuous coverage of the Rolex 24 at Daytona on this golden weekend. The 50th anniversary. The second Shank car is in. Felipe Nasser enjoyed a brief time out in front, and Brian standing by.
To be the final stop down here. What a great job this Shank team has done. Remember, last year was 3 cars within the top 10. This year they're looking at putting 2 on the podium. Nasser, impressive all month long. Back out on track for his final stint.
Couple of Indy Lights guys with Jorge Gonçalves and Gustavo Yackerman. Michael McDowell, who we now know through Nationwide. Incidentally, he's got that Joe Gibbs ride again for anywhere between 7 and 10 Nationwide Series events this year, and his Sprint Cup efforts with Phil Parsons Racing. And then, of course, we mentioned Felipe Nasser, who we're not yet sure. He's not sure whether he's off to GP2 or World Series by Renault. What a quartet. Let's go down to the man who's got it all on the line and can still win this Rolex 24.
Yeah, Ryan DL in Peter Barron's car just came into it. We saw that last stop there, Peter. You're about 5 seconds behind the leader. Your pit stop was 23 seconds. The Shank pit stop was 26 seconds. Did you get enough fuel in the car?
We think so. If my Peter math worked, I think we're all right. But these guys, the crew, that pit stop, everything they've done this whole event's been awesome. We got the car like 10 days ago, and we had to build the whole thing, and Bill Riley provided them an awesome platform, and these guys, it was pretty amazing the work they did, so that we're in contention. We're pretty excited.
seemed like a few hours ago that car was able to go toe-to-toe with Mike's car, but in the past 2 hours, it seems to have lost its edge a little bit. Do you guys have the speed of the 60?
Well, unfortunately, when we lost that the rear bumper there, it took away some of the the aerodynamic efficiencies of it. And with it heating up, it's really not to our advantage. It's kind of hurting us there. But if there's anybody that can give it hell, it's Ryan. The guy's awesome.
If we get a caution, he's going to be right there. Who are you going to put your money on?
Hey, we'll get the sweep, right? We got the pole, fastest lap. We just need the win now.
Brian?
Down here with Mike Shank, he's trying to make sure that my hair is good, and I know that he's a little tired. But Mike, I mean, all the work's done now, right, buddy? It's just time to get out and run.
The guys here, I think we can talk a little bit about. These guys have done a great job. The last 2 stops were really good. They seemed to get better as the night went on and the day wore on. Now it's up to the 2 drivers. We got 2 of the best guys in the world, in my opinion. And we'll see what we can do here. It'd be pretty special to finish this way, but I don't want to get fired up yet about it.
I know you don't. I just got a text, actually, from my wife. You and I live in the same town, Columbus, Ohio. She said, go Shank Racing. I can't say that because I've got to be impartial, but wanted to let you know that the kids at home were saying, go Shank.
I appreciate that. I need every one of you, for sure.
Best of luck.
Well, it's like the babies leaving the nest. You've done everything you can do to bring them up right. You've done all the things you can do. Now they're on their new tires and their final fuel stop. It's up to God. From here it goes forward.
We've had so much heartbreak, and it would be a cruel one here today. But right now the car's running awesome. AJ's out front. They got their second car, the older version of the Riley, running third. That's a tremendous run there. So just a brilliant Rolex race for these guys. Now it's just in the hands of the gods and a little bit of luck.
Let's do a time check for you, because before the last round of stops, the final round of stops, the margin was over 8 seconds. It's now down to 5.2. It's just come down to 4.3. There's life left in Ryan Dalziel yet. This is not over with 35 minutes to go. Peter Barron said if anyone can give it hell, Ryan Dalziel can, and here he is.
Yeah, Ryan just went 1 second fast on that lap. Obviously, traffic can be a factor for our leader, but Ryan Dalziel has a fast car. He's now doing it at the low 42 range, a 142.29 on that last lap.
And you can man it up for 35 minutes, I guarantee you. If you've got that adrenaline running, you're about to win the 50th 24-hour Daytona, yeah, you can do it.
There are so many young drivers out there, boys and girls, who dream of going to IndyCar or Formula One. If it doesn't work out that way, if your plan doesn't reach its fruition point, it's okay. Sports cars is pretty good as well. Ryan Dalziel's an example of that, and look at him go now. He's in contention for his second Rolex 24 at Daytona.
And how fast would that car have been? Peter talked about it, the damage to the rear end. He said we lost a little bit of the aero efficiency. When the track heats up, Dorsey gets a little bit slick, and they're really having to fight with the handling on that car right now.
Yeah, I think on the new tires he's good. That's why he's fast right now, but I think the longer this plays out, you'll start losing grip in those tires, and that aerodynamic deficiency is going to play into hand.
These are 2 drivers who have gone head-to-head in the old Atlantic days as well, so they know how to get it done. They know how to battle each other. Let's hope they can get a little bit closer and really have some fireworks there in the last 30 minutes or so.
And remember, AJ's been out there a lot longer. He's going to be a lot more fatigued. I don't know if that's going to be a factor. I think AJ's a pretty tough guy.
Chris?
And Dorsey, you hit it on the money. That's exactly what the StarWorks guys are telling Ryan right now. They're telling him AJ has been in that car for 3 hours. He's wiped out. Get up there, and you make him make a mistake. Brian?
I just checked in with Justin Wilson. I said, is AJ going to be okay? And he said, of course he will. I'd rather have a tired AJ in the car than anybody else. He said, look, yeah, you're going to lose a little bit at the end of a 3-hour stint, but it's not going to be enough. AJ's going to hang with him. He'll bring it home.
I think AJ got the message there. 41.8. Boy, oh boy, that is a stunner.
Yeah, he's a tough kid. He really is. And he's been muscling around these big stock cars lately. You know, everything's going for him, like you say, getting the ride with Penske, etc. He's on an emotional high. I think it'll carry him right through.
Yeah, he really is. He is buzzing right now. He's got a huge ride, the ride of his life with Penske for the NASCAR season, and he is up on the wheel right now. You can see him hustling through that hairpin. The car looks set, but you can see him really working the wheel, Dorsey.
AJ's always been in great shape through his Champ Car days, and when he entered NASCAR Sprint Cup with Team Red Bull. However, right now he is training virtually every day with a former Carolina Panthers physical conditioner. He is taking this Penske role enormously seriously, and this is a great way to shake the off-season rust off, isn't it? At the front of a massive field, arguably one of the best fields we have ever seen at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Our managing director of competition, Mark Raffoff, has been here for decades, more than 30 years, and he said, I don't know if I can name it the best, but he said it is certainly one of the best I've ever seen in my life.
No question about that in my mind either, because I've been here 29 years and been in a bunch of these races. Like I said earlier in the race, I've never seen this many cars fighting this hard, driving at this level of intensity for as long as these cars have been doing.
It's been a magic week, one of celebration, certainly in reflection over the past 49 years of this race. There you see it. Traffic getting pretty tight there. AJ just really forcing it. He doesn't want to give any tenths away to his old Atlantic sparring partner, Ryan Dial. Just hustling this race car.
He's fully aware of how potent DL is.
6 seconds.
Just saw a quick shot there of Oswaldo Negri, his wife Claudia, and their daughters. Motor racing, like any sport, is a real family affair. And this would be a high point for Oz's career. Let's go to GT. There are two classes in this race. We cannot forget about GT. They make up the majority of the field. Started with 45 GT cars in this race. They've been the victim of attrition as well, but not Magnus Racing. Porsche Works driver Richard Leitz leads the way over fellow Porsche factory driver Wolf Hensler for TRG, and Mark Lead for the famous 59 Brumos Porsche still in third.
Yeah, Leitz now has a 16-second lead over Wolf Hensler. What a day it would be for Andy Lally and the boys. Lally's won here 3 times, and this would be his 3rd GT victory in the last 4 years. An amazing record in such stiff competition.
Hey, particularly since he wasn't with the same team the whole time either.
There we see that second place car of Wolf Hensler, TRG, always a factor, always come here with an arsenal full of great cars, great drivers, 5 cars, 23 drivers piloting those machines. That is an amazing logistical nightmare for Kevin Buckler and his boys to fight their way through, but they do it year after year with great effect.
Jamie?
We had talked about the splitter on the front of that 67 car. They did take the time during one of their last pit stops to secure a front splitter on the front of the number 67. That's something that Brumos Racing, the number 59, did not do. And I just checked in with Spencer Pumpelly, and he said Wolf Hensler's reporting back that this car is as good as it's felt all day.
I bet there'll be a bunch of Porsche teams looking to correct that spoiler situation before they go on to the next race. This one's all gone now, just about, Calvin.
Yeah, and you can see the big gap on the front of the car, and what it does, it just allows air to get underneath there, so the front is not pinned when you're turning down into these corners. Not so much on those tight hairpins, but particularly through the kink, through that bus stop chicane is probably where you lose it the most in terms of effect in the corner and what it results in terms of the run down the straightaway.
Of course, being a rear engine car and so forth, you need all the help in the nose that you can get with the percentage of weight toward the rear.
Behind the 59 is some Chevy power. The Camaro for Stevenson Motorsports of John Edwards in that 57. It's been a good, strong fight for those guys. A win at Daytona seems to have eluded them one more time. However, they have had a track record of leaving here with not that many championship points. This is a good, strong start for the big Camaro.
It really is. They don't have the ultimate pace. We saw that in qualifying. Over the course of this race, they've had a really solid run. A few little niggly issues, but they've fought those to one side. And this will be great points for John Edwards, who's going to be teaming up full-time this year with Rob Nadell in the number 57.
Calvin, before qualifying way back a few days ago, you told me you figured they didn't have anything better than an 8th in the Camaro. Where did they qualify? They qualified 8th indeed. So you had a pretty good insight on that.
Yeah, Mike Johnson was thinking that number we spoke about a week ago about these new pit stop regulations and such. And there we see that Ferrari Racing Competizione Ferrari driven by Olivier Beretta right now in the 5th spot. Been a great run for these guys. They got mixed up a little bit more. We saw Olivier really pushing hard, lost the handle on the car a little bit in the back stop chicane about 30 minutes ago. So he's pushing very hard. Very strange to see Olivier in red.
Yeah.
And seeing him in those Corvette colors for so many years.
It's still pretty clean when you look at it. All the fenders where they're belonging, and can't say that for a lot of the cars.
Speaking of championship points, this is one of our regulars, Sylvain Tremblay, a 2-time Rolex 24 at Daytona winner. He and Jonathan Bomarito will go into the 2012 Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series full-time again. So good championship points, not quite the way they wanted it to play out. But again, valuable championship points for this first round of the North American Endurance Championship as well, that takes part here at Watkins Glen and at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Newly formed sponsorship there as well with visitflorida.com. They're offering up a bonus $100,000 prize money for the Daytona prototype class and a bonus $50,000 for the GT class. 66 is Patrick Pilet, the second best TRG car. It is currently 7th in class.
I think the factor is here, Daytona is very unique. We're seeing the Porsches run very strong here, but those Camaros, those Mazdas will be a factor on the tighter circuits. That Porsche is just really efficient here at Daytona, Dorsey.
Riding along in the Ferrari with Anthony Lazzaro back there currently in 8th position. They encountered trouble in the middle of the night and soldiering on.
AJ Almendinger has bought himself a bit more breathing room up front. 6.2 seconds last time round. Dial's about to flash across the line. What's that time check? It's still pretty much constant. The stress and strain on Mike Shank's face is starting to show, but there's relief coming in 26 minutes time.
The picture tells the story. 23 minutes and change remaining in the golden anniversary edition of one of the world's great motorsports classics, the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Down in our Speed Infield studio, Bob Varsha with David Hobbs and Tommy Kendall. A year ago at this time, we were celebrating the latest in a long run of successes for Chip Ganassi Racing and Kevin Buckler's The Racers Group operation. Multiple championships in this race for those teams. Well, now something new has been added. The king is dead. Long live the new kings. Michael Shank Racing and John Potter's Magnus Racing team in Daytona Prototype and GT, respectively. Sign of the future, Tommy?
Well, you know, you're only as good as your last race, and all the history in the world doesn't buy anything. You've got to earn it every time out. And, you know, we've said the pace of these races is unbelievable. The two fastest cars all day with two drivers that are absolutely in their primes. One of the key factors was who was going to have their car in the strongest form. That off earlier has damaged the number 8 car enough and probably just taken enough edge off. We've still got some time to go. Anything can happen, but it looks like this is in AJ's hands.
Yeah, with a 6-second lead or a 7-second lead with just 23 minutes to go, it looks like it's all AJ's race to be won. But on the other hand, he's going to be out there nearly 3 hours by the time this race is over. And Ryan Dial is just behind him. Of course, he's a lot fresher. Dial was on the pole with the 8 car, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to pull it off.
The radio transmissions always tell a great story. Here's one between AJ Allmendinger and his pit.
Mike, what kind of lap times is Ryan running by himself?
42, so this is bad. 42-1, around the 1-ish area.
I'm going to back her up a little bit.
Keep you informed. Right now you're +7, +7.
And the last 5 laps, AJ, to build that gap, only 1 lap above 42.0, all in the 41 seconds. He's backed it up to 41.9 right now. Just an absolute stirring string of laps for a guy that has been in the car at this point 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Well, when the car's going that well, you're going that well. Obviously, we saw the L1 car have that tremendous disappointment when it left the pits and the gearbox sort of collapsed. Assuming nothing like that's going to happen, he's obviously driving in a tremendously rhythmical fashion. He's set himself a time. He's very happy doing it. They're going to be saying slow down, slow down. And to be quite honest, he's much better off doing what he's doing than trying to slow down, because he'll be driving safer and better himself.
It was years ago here on Speed, here at Daytona, that we learned that you cannot luck into a win here at Daytona. You need to bring the best of everything, the best equipment, the best plan, the best engineers, the best catering, the best drivers, the best everything you can get your hands on. And I think we've seen that this year. It's really been a battle of the giants. We've talked on and on about how good this field has been this year, and I think the results are telling.
Well, of course, the 8 car with Lucas Luhr at the wheel had that faux pas earlier on this morning when he ran across the chicane, broke the bodywork at the back, and that delayed them, and that certainly delayed them more than 7 seconds. So it just shows that in 24 hours you can only mistake, only one member of the team is allowed one mistake, and you're not even allowed that when the cars are this close at the end of 24 hours.
That's one thing that separates this sport from everything else. You can have the worst shot in the history of golf and it only costs you 1 stroke. Here, 1 moment's indecision, too much aggression can end a flawless day.
The gap from Almendinger to Dial. First to second, now out to 11.7 seconds. Let's go to the pit lane and Chris Neville.
Well, we know Ryan Dial's been trying to claw his way back up to the 60 for about the past half an hour. It's been 5 seconds, it's been 7 seconds. The team's been telling him, hey, you're going to catch traffic, let's close that gap. But Ryan Dial just said on the radio, I've got nothing for him.
He might have something for him now because Dr. Jim Norman may have just brought out a caution. We'll wait and see with less than 20 minutes to go. We'll see if he can fire up this Audi R8 and get himself out of trouble. What happened? It's at the bus stop. No surprise there.
Yeah, just too much speed and got a little bit wide and tried to pinch it. Should have just run it through the grass at that point with that speed, Dorsey.
And we've seen the really pro drivers do that. When they make that mistake at the entry, they just give up the corner, turn right, and abort. When you go in too far, there's nowhere to go but into that wall.
Yeah, you keep turning the car to the left to try and get to the apex, and here's Mike Shank looking like, we do not need this.
No, he doesn't. This, if we get a caution, we'll put the 02 Ganassi car back on the lead lap with Juan Pablo Montoya.
Yeah, I've been talking about that for about the last couple hours, and
that'll put
maybe
four.
That'll actually happen.
Four Daytona prototypes will be on the lead lap with not much, but more than 18 minutes, 15 probably.
Again, I think the 02 may not have the speed anyway. We've seen the 01 struggle against this Ford Power today.
There's John Potter, owner of the Magnus Racing team. Has quite a good sense of humor. We are perched directly above the start-finish line, and I can see the double yellows being put away. I don't think they are going to be brought out at the moment.
Wow.
So luck might be with Mike Shank.
18 minutes to go. Not over yet.
That's not a great spot to leave a car, so we'll have to wait and analyze this a little bit further. Maybe they're trying to see if the driver can get it fired up and get moved by himself. You certainly couldn't bring a safety vehicle out there. Allow these guys to run. There we go.
There we go. They're going to try to push him out and get him to get going again, because we've seen a lot of cars. Offer him a bribe. You heard that? You got that from me. Jack Roush used to give us $100 bill to offer him a bribe to get you going.
Jack Roush, during his final driver meeting, used to give you $100 each. He said, if you want to add to it, go for it. But if you need to get out of the situation, make sure you got some cash in your pocket for these corner workers.
Mark Martin and I spent our 100.
That was before you got in the car. That was the trouble.
Yeah. Oh, well. You didn't. I think he's got it running. Not sure.
There was some communication with the corner workers, of which we should say thank you to all of the marshals and corner workers for their fine efforts in this Rolex 24, this 50th anniversary. I'm still looking down below at Tawny Miller, our on the flag stand, and haven't seen anything just yet. Greg?
I was just going to say, Dorsey, Calvin, now you reveal that you couldn't have thrown a car off in my corner a couple of times.
Sorry about that, Greg. We got to thank the SCCA corner workers, of course, which Greg Kramer is one and still does work corners. Without these guys and their effortless and for free labor, you couldn't run a race in the United States.
There you go. That's the reason we're not seeing a full caution period. They're able to retrieve that car through the gap in the fence there, so going to stay green. Big relief for Mike Shank and Dinger behind the wheel.
Still, that margin is 11.5 seconds with just 16 minutes to go. Good chance that Mr. Penske, Tim Cindric, Brad Keselowski are watching. Your new man is doing a good job.
Yeah, there's a real energy when the boy's behind the wheel, and that's why they've hired him. We expect great things from AJ in the Cup Series this year.
Everybody likes him. They call him the Dinger. And he has gained respect.
Let me tell you, there's a pretty good reason why. There's many reasons why Roger Penske chose him and Tim Cindric chose him. Out of every Sprint Cup driver, there's a category. NASCAR statistics are very, very deep. This guy was the #1 closer, and what the #1 closer means was making the most positional passes in the last 10% of every Sprint Cup race. He is #1.
Pretty neat deal.
Doing it today as well, right?
And I can tell you, it's tough to get the respect of the NASCAR community with a road racing background or an open wheel background.
Hey, our man JB.
Justin.
Justin Bell is back in the eBay Motors Children's Tumor Foundation Porsche. This is a second Porsche for Magnus Racing. They've had a tough day, as Andy Lally alluded to earlier. Justin celebrating his 25th anniversary of motorsport.
Doesn't look a bit fatigued. I wonder why.
That's good to see the car back out there.
Yes.
talked to Justin Bell just before he got back behind the wheel of that car, and that car is not in race shape right now. But the reason they went ahead and sent it back out is because they have 45 very sick kids here today that wanted to watch their car go around the racetrack. So for the last 15 minutes, that's exactly what they're going to do. So those little kids have something to cheer about at the end of this race.
That's why we saw Justin looking in the mirror so much. He's not up to true speed, and he was looking in the mirrors a lot more than he was looking forward, just making sure he didn't get in anyone's ways, especially the leaders. You don't want to ruin a race for anyone at this stage of the game.
Well, that's cool for the kids, though, to get the car back out there. I've seen worse cars than this out there at the final runs of a 24-hour.
I've seen some of your cars out there worse.
That's what I meant.
Well, it's a dual-purpose effort, this. It's racing to win, which is not going to happen today, but it's racing to raise awareness of the disease in the program, and over $2 million has been raised for the Children's Tumor Foundation. Racingforresearch.org. It's a worthy cause, and eBay Motors coming on board for Justin as well with the world's fastest car show. You should check it out. And everybody doing a terrific job. Lead margin is down below 10 seconds, but the task is growing increasingly more difficult for second place Ryan Dial to reel in AJ Almendinger.
And AJ's mirror driving now. He's in communication with his pits. He's just running laps just to keep him in front of where Ryan is. Whatever he needs to do, he could step it up if he wants to, but there's no need to. He's got the best car on the best day.
Don't back off too much. Just stay in your rhythm. Just don't take any chances in traffic. I mean, maybe back off the brake zone's a sniff. You don't want to be right on the edge in case something catches you unawares with some dirt or gravel on the racetrack. But you know, just take your time through this traffic. He doesn't have any pressure from behind, and it's nice. You realize you can even give up 2-3 seconds if need be when you've got an 11-second lead plus.
We see these two cars remaining first and second. The Mike Shank Ford, the Starworks Ford. They also get our Rolex Move of the Race award. And if you didn't see it earlier, it's well worth watching. Check this out.
There we go, down into turn one. It's McNish on the inside in the 8, and Dinger trying to go the long way around. McNish said, no way am I going to let you have that highlight for your career.
Then they're on the banking over here, and watch Dinger on the bottom. Watch as close as it gets to. And boom, a little shot. McNish says, I can play too.
Yeah, McNish really thought that AJ was trying to give him one there, and he just said, you're not going to play that game with me, sunshine. Take some of that.
And luckily, the yellow came out, and that was like the ringing of the bell for the next round, and then they got out.
Our producer Greg Oldham just spoke to me and said, don't forget the Rolex Move of the race. Not quite sure which move it was.
It was both.
It was a sequence of Rolex moves of the race. 11 minutes, 50 seconds to go here at Daytona on what has been a stunning weekend, a completely sold-out infield. I have never seen a crowd like it. Dorse, Cal, Bob, David, Tommy, we've all said the same. Nobody's seen the Rolex 24 look more of a picture than it has this weekend.
Well, they shut it off. I mean, they couldn't put any more people in there. It was completely gridlocked from end to end. It was quite amazing.
It's been a great atmosphere all week, and as strong as this Ford car has run here today, little whisper right now is that Ford actually got a turbo.
Oh, somebody in the wall here.
That's the AF. Is that the AF Waltrip car?
It could be.
Yeah, you're right.
I think that's the 56 car. And it's Michael behind the wheel.
Wow.
Two-time Daytona 500 winner, Michael Waltrip.
11 minutes to go.
This may be the yellow.
Yes, it might. That's off the fast part of the circuit, I think, past the kink.
Yeah, you're right. That's
past the kink,
hairpin after the kink.
See if Michael can fire and get going.
Trying to find reverse, I think.
Yeah, there he goes. There he goes. No caution. That's good.
No problem. Just went off to sign some autographs.
That's right. Get a cold drink and sign some autographs.
He's had a ball. He has had a ball. Just like he did at Le Mans last year. He's done Dubai, and he's building his sports car resume. He and Rob Kaufman and Rui Agua have really enjoyed this run. And of course, let's not forget, extreme freestyler Travis Pastrana had his first run and taste of the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
He's loving it, but he's got a lot of respect for this form of racing. He really understands now what it takes, and
I think the only damage done is that the mirror, the side view mirror, is dangling down there right behind the front tire.
You guys being Rolex 24 winning drivers will get a kick out of this. You know how wild Travis Pastrana is, jumping out of an aeroplane with no parachute, double backflips on a motocross bike, those Rally America crashes. He said to me at the Raw before the 24, this is pretty wild. When you get on the banking and a prototype comes back, it moves your car around.
There's Michael on board. checking his mirrors and getting back up to speed.
I think
Actually, this is right before.
Crash.
Yeah.
This is that corner he's coming
He doesn't
into.
look like he knows he's going to crash it yet. Now he does.
Just turned it in. Sure,
Just
if he
got
had
out
made a
there.
pit stop, maybe he was on some cold tires there, but just a small mistake, but that's how quickly it can bite you. Just getting back to that Ford story just quickly. They may have dominated this race, but we're hearing they've got a turbocharged engine on the dyno. It may be introduced mid-season this year. That's really shook the paddock, not knowing that turbocharged engines were being developed alongside these normally aspirated V8s.
V6 turbo power is what we believe. Bob?
Well, all I can think of watching all of these near misses on yellow flags on the track is poor Mike Shank is dying by 1,000 cuts down there in the pit. Seems like every 60 seconds or so, somebody goes off track. There's Mike, and puts this entire triumph in jeopardy by calling for a complete restart. 8:45 to go.
Well, of course, you said you can't luck into a win at something like the Rolex 24 or the Le Mans 24, but you can certainly luck out of a win, and something like that could just do it.
Yeah, this is definitely nervous time. You know, anything can happen. Things are in control, but weird stuff happens. And this is, you know, you've heard it before. This is when you hear noises, feel vibrations, etc. These are slow minutes.
Yeah, they are.
I don't mean to belabor the point, and I'm sure Mike doesn't want me to either. But remember, his bet with A.J. Allmendinger was if the Dinger won in Mike's car, Mike's going to shave the Dinger's initials into his hair. And that's Mike's hair, not A.J.'s hair.
That's only 8 minutes away.
That's right. And I asked during the test, is that the deal? And Mike said, well, yeah, I'm going to put a little log right here. And Allmendinger was out of his chair like a rifle shot. No. That's not what you're going to do.
And, you know, and Mike's almost up to my age. So when you start shaving hairs, there's no guarantee they're coming back.
Yeah. Maybe that's my excuse. I'm going to shave my head.
7.9 seconds is the lead margin with 7.5 minutes to go. It's a gripping time, and if you're in the position of A.J. Allmendinger and Mike Shank, you can't soak it up because the nerves are overwhelming.
Well, you think of the years gone by and all the disappointment that Michael Shank and his guys have had when they've been one of the best teams, and they've had so many times they could have won, should have won. And man, if he can pull this off, you're going to see some huge emotion.
On the other side of the fence too, disappointment for the Starworks team. Peter Barron's come very close here before. Alan McNish, this will be the third time that he'll have been a runner-up finisher here. He's won in class, but 2 runner-up finishes overall. So he really had the bit between his teeth. I mean, we weren't on the air on Speed. We saw on Speed.com last night where McNish and Dinger were just really duking it out for the lead of this race. We certainly saw it once again in the morning hours as well. So just been a fantastic race. Everyone's given it 1,000,000%, but this 60 car has just been awfully strong.
4 to go.
GT class leader remains Richard Leitz for John Potter's Magnus Racing. They got Andy Lally away from TRG, put in a factory Porsche driver in Richard Leitz. They've got Rene Rast in there as well, a 2-time Porsche Super Cup champion, along with team principal John Potter. They've got an excellent staff, good equipment, and there you go. The secret ingredients and consistency at speed at the Rolex 24.
And if they can win this GT class, they will achieve beating the toughest class of GT cars probably in the history, the 50-year-old history of this Daytona 24. The best of the best were here. Every factory they beat.
10-second lead, and right now it could be a Porsche sweep in GT along with a Ford sweep in Daytona prototype. So big days for those 2 manufacturers potentially.
This team, we have said it many times before, if you have joined us on the Grand Am Rolex series broadcasts here on Speed, this team embodies what Grand Am is all about. You can do it. You can buy the equipment, you can get some sponsorship, put some good drivers in the car, and it's a Pro-Am combination. It's a Pro with a Pro-Am driver, John Pugh and Oz Negri, and you can beat teams like Ganassi and Grand Am.
And it's not over with 5 minutes to go. And here's another reason you can get in trouble. With less than 5 minutes to go, right at 5 minutes to go, there's only 7 seconds between the first place car and the second. It is not done yet.
It's closing down a little bit, so AJ doesn't want to let too much more air out of the bag, so to speak, because Ryan just pushing. Took about a second off him on that last lap, but you'd have to think that AJ is just controlling that gap. They don't want to get it down to about 4 or 5 because suddenly you get a gaggle of traffic, and that can be gone in a heartbeat. So be surprised if he lets it get it much closer than this.
Call is 4.5 minutes remain for the Californian AJ Almendinger, who now resides in Charlotte, North Carolina. A couple of titles when he was a younger man, the Skip Barber, the Barber Dodge Pro Series, Toyota Atlantics, and then he went on to his Champ Car career. He is yet to win a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race. He's been close, but he hasn't got there yet. If he can hang on for another 4 minutes, this will be the biggest victory in this young man's career.
Oh, what a day it'll be for him. For Oz Negri, it'll be his 3rd Rolex win. For John Pugh, it'll be his 2nd. And for Justin Wilson, it would also be his 1st victory. Those two boys, Justin Wilson and Dinger, have been friends for a long time, dating back to the Roo Sport Champ Car days. They'd love to share this victory together here on the big one. The 50th celebration, we talked about it at the start of the day. Coming into here as a road racer, this is hallowed ground. If you do ever win here, Dorsey, it's something very, very special. But to do it here on the 50th, that is just the icing on the cake.
And it's just amazing that after 24 hours, there's only 5 seconds between these two cars fighting out for that 50th championship. 5 seconds, guys. That's unheard of, and we almost take it for granted now because these cars have become so good.
3 cars on the lead lap. The record is 4. We had that last year. 3 cars to be on the lead lap at the end of 24 hours is still remarkable. It's the same in GT with Leitz, Hensler, Lieb fighting it out there in the top 3. As Carl mentioned, it'll be a Porsche sweep, just like the Ford sweep in Daytona prototypes if things remain as is for the final 3 minutes. It's an anniversary time for Grand Am and for the Rolex 24, and this has been an anniversary-worthy race.
DL has got it down to 6.3 seconds. 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go. He's going to hit the stripe next time by with about a minute on the board. And he will see that white flag indicating 1 more lap to go at the completion of this lap. So just keep it nice and smooth, AJ. He's had the experience. He's won so many big races in the past. But this is huge. Here is Ryan Dial. Can he get a nice clean run from the traffic? Just take a few more tenths, maybe a couple of seconds out of that lead.
A couple of tenths last lap that he got out of the lead.
You can see him now. You see there. Dinger going through the kink. Here is Dial.
As you two know all too well in your careers, when you're coming up in those early days, there's so many people a part of your career. Before we forget, I want to give a shout out to someone who played a major role in AJ Almendinger's young career, and that's Barry Waddell. Barry, who you guys know very well, we all know well, was a driver coach in the Skip Barber days for AJ, saw him up into those early days of NASCAR, did some spotting for him, and this will be a special day for Barry as well.
For Tara Reagan as well, she's a great friend of ours, and she's been beside AJ throughout the last 10 years or so of AJ's career and really just helped direct him. And this will be a big day for that whole team.
Oh, somebody missed the bus stop there, but
Where
no
is he?
harm. Yeah. Does he stop? Does he stop? Yeah, he does. Not a problem there. For Oz Negri, it'll be the biggest accomplishment of his career. So too for the Pro-Am driver, John Pugh. And for Justin Wilson, let's not forget the big story. He broke his back in the IndyCar Series last year at Mid-Ohio. And this is the big man's first race back.
Flag is out, last lap. White flag
There
is
is a
out.
bit of a smile from Mike Shank and Mary Beth, his wife. 1 more lap to go. 3.56 miles between Mike Shank and that elusive victory in the Rolex 24.
And in the last lap, you've had the Audi R8 spin out in front of it, and the Ferrari goes straight off in front of it. So you got to know your heart is right up there in your throat.
If you're in Ohio, more specifically, if you're in Columbus, Ohio, or even more specifically, if you're in Pataskala, Ohio, you should be cheering. Ring your friends, tell them to turn speed on, because you should be very proud of this little team.
Mike Shank has so many supporters. Brian Bailey has come on board the last couple of years, giving this team tremendous support. And they've got big plans, not only in this series, they're really working double hard to get that IndyCar program across the line. They have the chassis sitting in their shop. They're just waiting for the last few dollars to make that program come to life, potentially with Paul Tracy. They'd love to see it. They want to be at the Speedway. Mike Shank was a single-seater racer and a very good one, and then he turned his attention to car ownership and has been a brilliant car owner, and he has a great relationship with this man, AJ Allmendinger.
It's a new generation for Daytona prototypes in Grand Am. This is Bob Riley's design for the company his son Bill runs, Riley Technologies. What a debut for the new chassis. Ford has not been to victory lane here in the Rolex 24 in 13 years. It has been a long, long wait. For Mike Shank, it's his 7th consecutive Rolex 24 at Daytona.
My name in the side of your head, baby.
And now AJ reminds Mike Shank he's got to shave his name in his head. It's an anniversary race. This has been a golden occasion. Mike Shank Racing finally does it. And AJ Almendinger steers that Ford Riley to victory lane. How about that?
What a race, what a day.
Penske's new signing delivers the goods for Mike Shank. AJ Almendinger, Justin Wilson, Oz Negri and John Pugh with the biggest wins of their respective careers.
Boy, did they deserve that. That team worked so hard. They've come so close, had so many disappointments here, led so many races. There he goes. Mike Shank celebrates with his crew.
What a start to Speed Weeks for AJ. Holy cow.
The weight is finally off Mike Shank's shoulders. He can breathe a sigh of relief. He's done it. With that tight-knit crew that he has blended together. And it's a celebratory day as well for another small, tight-knit team. Magnus Racing, a combined effort out of Utah and New York, and John Potter's men have done it. Andy Lally's going to get another watch. Magnus Racing dominates the GT class at the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
You talk about beating the best of the best. They just did do that.
That is a huge result for that team. That is one of the deepest GT races we have seen. The amount of talent in the field this year was astonishing, and the Magnus boys bring it home. What a day.
Do you like fighting for the underdog? Because a couple of them won today. That's what the Grand Am Rolex Series is all about. And we are far from done. We're going to soak it up and celebrate in victory lane when we come back.
Live at Daytona International Speedway, we've been saying all weekend that it's always satisfying to win the Rolex 24, but on this 50th anniversary of the great race, there is an extra layer of satisfaction, especially for this team. Michael Shank Racing. I remember the days calling Atlantic Racing when Michael Shank was a driver. He always said, someday I'm going to have my own team. He's worked hard at it, he's had lots of failure, and now he has the ultimate success for an American sports car team, victory at the Rolex 24. And Tommy, after what we talked about a couple of hours ago when the Action Express team was telling their guys, go put pressure on him, AJ Allmendinger will crack. It never happened.
It wasn't might, it was will. And what they forgot to tell him is don't make him mad. Because when McNish ran him off the edge of the road, he was already inspired, but he really got fired up. And that was an unbelievable performance. String of laps within tenths of the fast race lap when it mattered, and got it done.
For the record, it was the Star Works team talking to Alan McNish and Lucas Luhr, telling them that AJ just couldn't get it done. Oh boy, he showed them otherwise. Let's go down to Brian Till in victory lane.
Now, Mike Shank, let's talk to you first, buddy, because I know that as a former racer yourself, you've worked so hard building this team. You've come so close so often. Has it even begun to sink in yet, what it is that you guys have done?
I put glasses on because I'm a big baby, because I'm going to tear up like crazy. But I just got to thank everybody involved, Live On, Curb Records, Ford Motor Company, Continental, you guys for always helping me on TV, my crew, which is phenomenal, 22 women and men that just kicked ass all weekend. I'm just grateful. I just am grateful. I won't Tim Tebow it, but I am very happy.
And Mary Beth.
Oh, of course. Putting up with my crap for 20 years.
We need to make sure we included her. Where's the dinger? He's getting up on top of the car. One more time.
Okay, guys, now for interview.
All right, AJ, we'll get you down here. You got your barber shears ready?
Oh my God. I'm so worn out. This is for Shank, man. I mean, we all wanted to win it so bad, but I think more than anything, we wanted to win it for Mike Shank because he works harder than anybody I ever met. Dude's absolutely amazing. Maddox, everybody at Roush Yates, Ford. Motor was so fast. I'm so worn out.
When you saw those cars spin on those last few laps, were you worried about full course caution?
Yeah, I didn't want to have to do that. I haven't won for 5 years. I didn't want to have to do it green, white, checkered.
Justin Wilson, where is Justin? There he is. Yeah, sit down here so I can actually be at the same height as you. That would be good. Oh, I mean, what a drive for you as well. I mean, you guys dug and dug. And when I came to you and asked about AJ being in the car for so long, at the end you said, I'd rather have a tired AJ than anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, he just did a fantastic job, and it's just hard to take in right now that we actually won the 50th Rolex 24 hours. So it's a great moment. Really happy for Shank. Ford giving us a great engine, and you know, it's a pretty special day. So I'm sure we'll sleep well tonight.
And after the disappointment with Ganassi a couple of years ago and then coming back from your injury, I assume this is even that much more special.
Yeah, I mean, we've come so close so many times. And last year, AJ and I joked, saying, we're not going to win it this year, we'll win it next year on the 50th. And
you did.
We did. So.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
John Pugh. John Pugh. Come on down, buddy.
Yeah.
2 awards in a row for Sportsman Driver of the Year, and now you come away with the Rolex 24. I mean, as you look forward to the rest of this season, you got to be on a high.
I'm definitely on a high. We're so prepared and ready for this race. I'm so lucky to have these guys with us. What great teammates to have. These guys are fantastic.
And speaking of great teammates, I saved you till last because you've been with Mike Shank for the longest, and I know that you've put your heart and your soul into this, and I would imagine that the emotions welling up inside of you as you watch that car come across the finish line will be emotions that you will not forget.
I mean, there's not even words, you know. It's something that it was like a roller coaster. You know, we had to pull things out that we didn't even know that we had. Actually, we had it. We just didn't know we had it. It was just amazing. I'm happy for Shank, and this is a dream come true. You know, this is a dream come true, and I'm blessed to be here.
And mentoring AJ for as many years as you did when he was coming up, how special is it to watch him be in the car at the finish?
It's so funny because last year, Daytona 24 last year, we were pushing the cars to the grid, and AJ said we've got to do it together. And we are together, and we are here on the podium. I can't believe it. I just can't believe it.
Congratulations, guys. You know, if you ask the teams up and down victory lane or up and down pit lane, if they didn't win it, who would they like to see? And every one of them said Mike Shank Racing. Bob?
All right, thanks very much, Brian. A well-earned victory, and I think the emotion is pretty clear in Oz Negri's voice. To work so hard and see your efforts rewarded is something very special indeed. To Jamie Howe.
Our GT winners, Magnus Racing. John Potter, you assembled this team. You made plans for months. What does this mean to you?
Oh, it means a ton. It's our first win in Rolex Series, and I just really have to hand it to all these people you see behind me here who put this car together. 4 of us just get to abuse it for 24 hours. They had to spend months putting all the work so that we could abuse it. So it's just an amazing thing. And I don't know, I never, imagined it, so I don't even know what to say when I'm here.
One person who did imagine it because he's been there before is Andy Lally. But Andy, you told me this is the toughest race you've ever been a part of. How'd you win it?
This was 24 hours of qualifying, and I had 3 other awesome teammates out there, and an awesome car. I mean, the abuse that we put this thing through nonstop. I mean, we did our race laps faster than what we qualified at, and John Potter, every single driver on the team led a ton of laps, and this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the hours that this crew put in. And Magnus Racing, great way to start. My 4th Rolex, 24 win, my 7th watch. I love this. I love this. I got to thank these 2 guys for coming on board here with us part-time. Renee and Richard are absolute, just the fastest kids on earth.
Well, while Andy Lally collects his 4th Rolex, Renee Rast, you've never even raced at Daytona, and now you're going home with the 24-hour victory. How challenging was this one?
Yeah, exactly. It's my first time in Daytona and my first win here. it's a special moment for me. I mean, I always dreamed about that. Those guys behind me have done such a great job. I have to thank to John Potter that I could be part of that big game, and also to Porsche that they invited me. And I just want to thank all of the guys who stand behind me. It's just great.
It was definitely Porsche power that brought you guys to the victory, and it was Porsche factory driver Richard Leeds who brought the car home. How hard were you pushing at the end of the 24?
Well, it's an honor from the team that they give me the last stint. It's really special. I'm so happy that, you know, with all this, with a strong GT field, with all the good drivers there here on the 5th anniversary, we got it. We got the win. Since 2007, I tried it, and it's the 3rd year with Magnus, and this year we got it. It's really special for us, and thank you for John Porter that he has done the team, and thanks to Porsche that it worked well, and I'm really happy now.
Magnus Racing certainly earned this GT victory. Congratulations, guys. Bob?
Here's an idea, Jamie. Rolexes all around to all of the drivers you just heard from in victory lane as champions of the Daytona prototype and GT classes at the 50th Rolex 24. Of course, every driver who entered this race has a story to tell, including those who will go to the podium but not to the top step. We'll be back to hear more from them in just a moment. Stay with us. Back live at Daytona, where the celebrations continue in victory lane. Time for another celebrity tweet from Danica Patrick, who once drove here at Daytona for Michael Shank Racing. Cool to see Michael Shank win the Rolex 24. Good for you and the team. Thanks, Danica. We couldn't have said it better ourselves. Time to meet our second place finishers in Daytona prototype with Chris Neville.
Well, for 24 hours, Alan McNish, Enzo Potalicchio, Alex Popov, Lucas Lohr, and this man, Ryan Dial, capped the 8 car at or near the front, but you just couldn't get him in the end. The team was encouraging you constantly, make him make a mistake. He didn't make the mistake, but it also didn't look like you had the car at the end.
No, I think we had a little bit of damage, obviously, earlier in the race, and it really hurt our top speed, so... so disappointed. I think, you know, everybody thought we were the car to beat, and we were the car to beat. We had such an amazing Hollywood story turn up here with a car that's literally days old and missed the whole first practice. And what an amazing job from the guys at Star Works and great teammates. It's just a shame we came up a little bit short, but I think we all know that we could have won it today, and we'll just come back again next year.
Alan, you've won Le Mans twice. You've finished second here now 3 times. Why are these races so hard to win?
Any 24-hour race is really hard to win, and the margin of victory is so small nowadays. But I have to say that Star Wars did an unbelievable job to put the program and the car together and to run so faultlessly throughout the race. I'm very proud of the second position, to be honest with you.
Yeah, this team came with a brand new car, no testing time, and they finished second. They've got to find some satisfaction there. Brian?
Well, Mike Shank Racing, they win, but they also put another car on the podium. It was the 6th car, Jorge Goncalves, Gustavo Jacquemin, Michael McDowell, and Felipe Nasser. And Michael, you've been with this team. You've been to this race before, but believe this is your best finish here. Do you think that maybe deep into this race, you guys actually had a shot of being at the top step?
Well, we talked about it all week. We just wanted to be on the lead lap with a couple hours ago to give us a shot, and we were able to do that. We got a lot of laps back this morning, and these guys did a great job, all 3 of them, and you know, it's a hard-fought race all the time. We didn't quite have the pace that the other 2 Fords did, just the old body, but still great to walk away with a podium finish, and happy for Mike Curb and all the guys at Curb Records as well.
Yeah, it was a tremendous job by all of you guys, especially the 3 rookies here. Felipe Nasser, you won this opportunity as an award for winning the Formula 3 championship, the Sunoco Challenge Award from overseas. When you came here, a Daytona prototype is just about as far away from a Formula 3 car as you can get. You adjusted to it very well. Did you ever think that you guys would be able to perform this well?
Well, we did a fantastic job, as Michael said. You know, it was a great opportunity for me to be here and hopefully had this team together, and everybody just did the job. You know, we kept the car in the track, no problems at all, no accidents, and that's the race, you know. You first have to finish it, and well, we still got the pace out there, not as quick as the guys in front, but it's been unbelievable. You know, my first time here, it's been great.
It was a tremendous job by 3 rookie drivers with a Formula car background to be as disciplined as they could be, led by Michael McDowell. Maybe he was the maturity on the team. Jamie?
Well, the second place in GT goes to the number 67 of TRG Motorsports. Wolf Hensler, you were behind the wheel, taking the car to the checkered flag. How difficult was the closing stage of this race?
Yeah, I mean, very difficult. I tried everything I had. Well, I gave everything I had, and also the team at our last pit stop. And yeah, they were counting down the gap to Richard Leeds, but he was really driving fast, and yeah, that I couldn't catch him. I tried everything I had, but yeah, finally finishing second is also okay. I mean, I'm happy, and also happy for the team, for Steve and Spencer. They are doing the championship, so they scored really good points.
Definitely good points for the full season. Spencer Pompelli, this was a tough race today and yesterday. This is a big challenge for the team, but you guys came home with a podium finish. What does it mean?
Oh, if you think of the depth of field and talent we had in this 50th anniversary, it just feels good to get up in the front. You know, my hats are off to Magnus and everyone over there. Andy had a great win today, but it's a great way to start the season. TRG worked really hard. It was great to do it with Steve and all these great guys.
And as Wolf said, Spencer Pompelli and Steve Bertho, they'll do the full season. They were joined today by Jerome Blackamolen, Mark Goosens. Congratulations on a podium finish, guys.
Well, last year, Brumos Racing went from Daytona prototype down to the GT ranks. This first race was a bit tough for them, but they ended up winning the championship. But Hurley, you've won this race 5 times overall. You've still got that record. But was this the toughest GT feud you've ever seen at this race?
Yeah, I mean, the pace was just outrageous. We were, you know, hard on it the whole time, and we were so dominant. We led for so much of the race, and then just to have a little miscalculation on the fuel in the end cost us. We were just 15 minutes short, but you know, sometimes that's the way it goes. But we were, you know, I'm proud of the team. The guys did just a super job of driving. Mark had no power steering the last stint, so he was, you know, pretty worn out. So it was a good show. We just missed that first place by a few steps.
Little short on fuel, a little damage at the front. That's what keeps you out of victory lane.
And with that, Hurley Haywood bids farewell to the Rolex 24 at Daytona. His 40th start. He made the podium. He says, this time, I mean it. I am done. But we hope to have Hurley around for a long time here at Daytona in the future. We'll be back for more in a moment.
We really hope that you have enjoyed Speed's live coverage of the 50th anniversary running of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. And because for myself and Cal and Dorsey, Brian and Chris, we get to enjoy the Rolex series all year long. This one is a very special way to get going. And you might remember at the top of our broadcast yesterday, we mentioned that words like unusual, uncharacteristic, impossible are not applicable here. Well, impossible is for Mike Shank, because it's no longer impossible to win the Rolex 24 at Daytona. He's done it, and on this golden year, and that's going to be a storyline that will thread throughout the year.
Absolutely a great win for Mike, but it's really been a week of celebration, a lot of reflection about many great races here. But today, boy, it didn't disappoint. We were anticipating those new Daytona prototype bodies, new cars in GT. They were certainly sensational, but I'll never forget that battle throughout the course of this day between AJ Allmendinger and Alan McNish in particular, banging doors at about 180 miles an hour down that back straightaway. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. I tell you what, it took 50 years to have a race this great. Not to say that there was anything wrong with the 49 before, but they were all really great races. This race was phenomenal.
Terrific one for Justin Wilson. Got that win that eluded him when he was driving for Ganassi. And for AJ Allmendinger, what a way to start this new year with a new team in a big way. Bob, it's been thoroughly enjoyable. And to cap off this anniversary running, we hit the distance record at 761 laps.
Yeah, we had a little pool going on that. I had the under, but we got to the record. Thanks very much, guys. It's been a great experience. Final thoughts from you, Tommy Kendall?
Well, there was a lot of hype coming into this race. Lived up to it. Biggest crowd ever. Unbelievable race. Hard not to be happy for the whole Mike Shank crew and AJ Allmendinger. Truly an epic performance. And I'm happy to join this. You know, Lee Calvin and Dorsey up in the booth. Everybody else, the regulars, and the F1 Dream Team here. Happy to be part of this whole operation.
How about you, David?
Well, of course, for me, it was a very emotional experience. I was here for the very first race 50 years ago, and I think today was a very fitting race for the 50th anniversary. Biggest crowd ever, beautiful day for racing and a fantastic race. Just a few seconds covering the top two in both classes, and really was an absolutely outstanding day, and there's no doubt about it. And just a little mistake by Lucas Luhr cost the number 8 car that race, and a little mistake on the fuel cost the GT Polestar its win. So just part of long distance racing history, but just a wonderful day for me.
Well, history is also on my mind, David, not only because of what we witnessed on the track, but the entire weekend of this 50th anniversary of the Rolex 24. All the great champions of the past who came here to be feted, and all the great cars that were out there on the beach and then driven here to the racetrack, including Dan Gurney's original Daytona Continental winner. I mean, that is just magic for any fan of motorsports. And then when you get here to the racetrack and you wander the garage area, yes, you've got great drivers, but you've also got other great personalities from the sport. Beaky Sims was Jimmy Clark's mechanic in Formula One back in the 60s. He was here working with the Risi Ferrari team. Kenny Zemansky busted tires for Ayrton Senna in Formula One, and Mario Andretti in his championship years in Indy cars. It's just staggering to be able to come and talk with these people and relive so many great moments of motorsports, not only here at Daytona, but also around the world. That's what we enjoy doing here at Speed, and we hope you have enjoyed every moment of it being with us. So at this point, I guess all there is to say is thank you. Nearly 300 drivers from 29 countries around the world came here. Each had a dream, just to sit in the drivers' meeting with the great champions who were running for the championship, to make the dawn, to make the checkered flag, to be classified, perchance to stand on the podium. But I can guarantee you this, every one of those drivers went home with a lifetime full of memories. So for now, for Lee Diffie, Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Chris Neville, Jamie Howe, Brian Till, Greg Kramer, and Justin Bell, I'm Bob Varsha. For all of us at Speed, hope you enjoyed the weekend. A final goodbye from Daytona International Speedway.